We might be live. I might be sitting here talking to myself. Could honestly go either way. Oh, this is going to screw me up. My camera is here on my laptop instead of over here, and I'm going to want to keep talking. This is going to be a problem tonight. Let me know if you guys can hear me before I get started, because I have a tendency to start without audio. And I was having problems getting things hooked up. So let's see. Amanda can see me. Mara says, all's good. Yay! Okay, wow, this started surprisingly smoothly, other than the fact that this just does not look like it's in focus. Let me see if there's anything I can do if I need to change that camera really quick before we get going. My eyes are messing with me today. I have an appointment to get new glasses next week, or to get a new prescription. I can't see anything. Easel cam, phase cam, what did I list this as? Do I have it listed? Nope, that's not it. 1 second. I'm just going to see if there's anything I can do to make that stay in focus, because I have a tendency to put the setting a little bit off. That should be good. Or it could just not respond to me. That works too. Okay, autofocus. That might be the problem. I think that was one of the things that caused problems for us before. Okay, hopefully that fixes it. Okay, and let's get started. Sorry about that. This has just been one of those days. I threw up a last minute video today. Wednesdays are already busy getting ready for the live stream. I didn't even have this background painted green. God, I don't even know what color it is. I missed my nap again today. I didn't have it painted brown, so I had a lot to do, and then decided, hey, on top of that, let's make and edit another video too. So yeah, that was, it's been one of those days. So have fun with listening to me fall over all my words, because that's what is about to happen. So getting started, I want to thank to our moderators, Valerie and Joseph Fincham. They both have videos here on YouTube. The link is in the video description if you want to check out their channels. So, okay, getting started. Now this one's going to, well, let's be honest, it's going to be a crappy video because you can't really see the whole canvas. It's so big. In order to back up far enough, you end up just seeing my head. So I'm going to try to position it around so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to walk you through the beginning steps of how I paint this. This is going to be wood grain for the background of the octopus painting that I'm working on, or, well, starting to work on. So, yeah, Ian Jackson said it may get more in focus when I have a solid image. Definitely likely. So the thing that I'm going to do first, actually, I want to show you my palette first. So this is what I do for acrylics. I used to keep my acrylics in a pie tin, and then I put tinfoil in it. That still works. That's still a very valid way to go. But now I'm using the same, it's a Masterson, which I may have spelled wrong in the video description, but it's a Masterson palette, and it's kind of like Tupperware where it seals off, it's airtight. But with acrylics, that doesn't completely keep the paint from drying out. They'll still dry it out inside it. But here's a tip. I put a damp, just a dirty, apparently, it's got paint chunk stuck on it, a damp paper towel. You can see it's fairly wet. I mean, if I squeeze it, water will drip out. But I just leave that in there with the lid on the palette, and then the paint that I put in earlier, perfectly wet, nothing is even remotely dry. So that is my solution there. There are stay wet palettes. Actually, the same company makes it, where you would put it's almost like a sponge, but not really a sponge. It's like spongy kind of paper. Let's see, are we back? I think we're back. Let's see. Okay, looks like we're back. Leela says we're back. I'm really hoping this isn't a problem. I updated the Windows 10. I hate Windows 10. It has to be updated every 5 minutes, I swear. But OBS didn't say it had an update. I updated, everything had to be updated today again. So hopefully we are good. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, this paint here is actually just the background color. I mixed too much. So I was able to put it in this palette, and I just threw the wet paper towel in there, put the lid on it, and it's going to keep it. So I don't have to worry about having wasted paint, especially on a color like that brown. I'm going to be using that a lot on this painting, so that's really helpful. So the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of mark out where I want my lines to be for creating the wood grain. Now, I don't need this to be absolutely perfect because it's a very, very, well, the wood table that I'm using for my reference, it's a reclaimed wood table. So that definitely does not need to have perfectly straight lines. If you were doing something that was really really polished, really refined, like my friend is a woodworker, if he did it, his lines would be perfectly straight. But let's see, I'm missing your logo, not much for that blue square box. Huh? You're missing my logo. I don't know. I have no idea. Sorry, Bara. It looks like it's still showing for me. You're going to see my forehead a lot in this camera. That's lovely. But big canvas, we had to put the camera back. So, okay, what I'm going to do, and hopefully this will catch up, I'm going to take a ruler. I have a ruler that I bought from Michael's. It was an impulse buy that was by the register, but I thought it was a really pretty color. And I'm glad I have it now. So what I'm going to do, let's see, is go at the bottom. And actually, I'll do this at a few locations throughout the canvas because I don't have a ruler long enough to go all the way across this. This is 40 inches. So I'm just going to line this up at the bottom of the easel. And let's say I want to go maybe 22 inch, oh, it's not inches, centimeters here. I'm just going to put a white line. Now the pencil that I'm using here, this is a General's layout white, or no, just a General's white pencil. This is a charcoal pencil. There's no oil in it. That's very important. You want to make sure, because a lot of the white pencils that you'll find, I've seen that with the drafting section, a lot of them have oil in them. Make sure that it doesn't. So let's, blue rectangle on the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure. I'm trying to keep up with the problems, but I don't know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to put a few lines here at that 22 mark. And I'm going to do that across the painting. And I'm really just going to worry about this bottom section for tonight. I'm not going, oops. Welcome to the back of my head. Okay, so from there, actually let's put another one here. Since I don't have a ruler long enough for this, I should get a yardstick. I used to have one. I have no idea where it went. All I'm going to do now is just put a loose line across these. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. It's just not that big of a deal here. Another option you can go if you do need something perfectly straight is use masking tape. You can put that all the way across your board. You would do the same thing. You want to put several marks where these little lines or little dots you're putting so that you can connect, make sure that the masking tape is even all the way across. One thing that happens a lot is when you put the tape on, it kind of bends or hoops down at one end, and you don't want that look. So you want to have several dots where as you're putting the tape on, you can measure it. Actually, it looks like I'm off over here. Let me remeasure this. No, it looks like it's about right. Okay, so I'm just really going to focus on this for tonight. Now, normally when I paint, I would be working on everything kind of all at once. This is a bit of a challenge just because this canvas, working this big, is a pain to record. So, hope I hit record. JPC13 Art, I love you right now. Thank you for that. Let's actually hit record on that. Now I did, and everyone has reminded me several times tonight. I know Kaneho emailed me, reminded me earlier. I'm sure a few others did, and I always forget. Okay, let's see if I'm missing any questions. Actually, let's pop this question box out. That seemed to work way better last week. I can see so much more there. Okay. A white pastel pencil could work instead of a white charcoal one. As long as it doesn't have any oil in it, yeah, it should be fine. I don't know if it would be more smudgy than what the charcoal is. This one, I mean, it doesn't smudge that much, but if I take an eraser, I can erase it pretty well. And that's basically my requirement for using the charcoal pencil. Yeah, Ian Jackson said when you look at wood grain, it's more wave than straight, and that's definitely true. So this line that I have here, this is just kind of a guideline. I don't need it to be exact. I wonder if I can erase this at all. That will make it easier for me. Tighten that up. Make sure you can still see stuff. 1 second. What is this showing? This is going to be seriously, I knew this was going to be a challenge all night long. How far over? Okay, camera ends. I've got about an inch on the end before you guys can see. So I apologize for that. I'll try to keep the chat going to keep it a little bit more interesting, being that you're not going to see probably what I'm doing that well. So let's go. Oh, coffee. I need that. That should come first. This is more important than painting. Okay, so I've got my reference photo over here. Let me pull that up. So wood grain, even though, I mean, I've painted enough wood grain, you guys have seen it in my art a lot over the years, I still pull up a reference photo. And I actually have my workbench next to me is the unfinished or reclaimed wood. I have reclaimed wood everywhere in my apartment, and I love it because I use it as a reference photo since that's a style that I like so much for artwork. So it's absolutely perfect. Emerald says, hello from Texas. Hope you fared well in the weird weather. Yeah, it has been cold. I have not been enjoying taking my dogs outside, that's for sure. Okay, so for acrylic paint, the amount of paint I have here, this brown, way too much. Do not put that much paint on your palette. I mixed a ton just because I was getting the background. Now, another thing I want to point out on this background, see how it's streaky? I didn't get it solid, perfect brown. That's fine. It doesn't matter. There'd be no reason to try to smooth this out and get rid of brush strokes because I've got to intentionally put strokes back in. So it's actually better for me to intentionally let that show. I just added basically a layer of detail without actually adding real detail. Let's see. Vladimir said, don't you think the Derwent Inktense blocks kind of feel like pastels? Not at all. Well, okay, I don't love touching them with my hands, so I'll give you that. But as far as working with them, because I use it as kind of like a watercolor block, basically, where you would just dip your paintbrush in water and then paint that. So I'm not normally coming into a whole lot of contact with my hands, so that part doesn't bug me. Let's see. The Art of Joseph Fisham. Is that a tiny trash panda on the bottom? Where are you looking? I don't know where you see. I actually have a trash panda dog toy on the floor in here somewhere, but I don't know. No, there is not. Let's see. Have I ever painted with coffee? No, I have not. Okay, so the paint that I'm putting out, I don't need a lot. This one is unbleached titanium white. Come on, that one's getting pretty low. Now that is still probably more than I would typically put out, but this is a big canvas covering a large area. I'll put a little bit more than normal. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to add a little bit of black onto my palette. Now, in the past, I used to fill my easel up, or my palette. I would have covered the whole thing first with black and then painted everything on top. And I found over the years, it's actually easier if I start with more of a mid-range, and then that way I can add my darks and my lights on top of that. It's easier to control. I definitely like the results I get better that way. Sparrowhawks CGI said, as a new artist, should I start with colored pencils or acrylics? Totally personal preference. I definitely would not say this is the way to go. This is the complete personal preference. If you like to work really, really big, I would say acrylics. But if you like teeny, tiny detail and little tedious stuff, then colored pencil. I mean, but really it is personal preference. Let's see, bottom of the easel on the brush. Here? Where are you looking? Tiny trash panda. I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you guys are going to totally start finding things hiding in this, aren't you? Okay, so I'm actually going to start with just putting a black line. I don't even have my brushes out yet. And that is not the brush I want. I guess this one will kind of work. One second. Ugh. I really tried to fit too much stuff into today, and I don't feel prepared. Not that I ever feel prepared when we start a live stream, but less so than normal. Which brush do I want to go with? So this, if you want to see, that's one of many packs of brushes. I am the biggest brush hoarder. And anything that's damaged, like this one is really, really damaged on the end. I didn't wash it well. I keep it because it'll do different special effects. It's kind of horrible. And I thought this would be good for fine detail. Look at the bristles on that thing. That's a bit long even for me. That's kind of ineffective. Not the best brush. Okay, but I like to collect them, so yeah. Ooh, will you work? No, you won't work. You're damaged. One of these in here will make me happy, I'm sure. I just have to figure out which one I want. I'm looking for a flat brush. Most of mine are actually filberts because that's typically going to give me a more natural feel. Unless I'm painting buildings, or in this case a wood table, then filberts are the way to go. Here, the problem is I don't have many, as it turns out, since I'm usually collecting the others. Let's see what's in here. Ooh, this is the winner. Here's another one of brushes. That one has some flats that look like they will work well. I've even got an angled brush that might work. Let's get him out too. Let's use all the brushes. I used to drive my students crazy, especially the acrylic painting, it's easy enough to clean, but the oil painters, I would drive them crazy because I would pull way too many brushes out of their thing, and then I made them clean them at the end of the class, but I'd have like 10 different paintbrushes out for different effects and different things. It was like, God, please don't let Lisa walk by right now because she's going to pull a bunch out, and I'm going to have to clean them, so... Okay, I'm actually going to try the angled one. Let's see how I like this. So I'm going to start by dipping my brush in water. Don't need too much. And then I'm just going to use black. Now I'm not going to leave anything, or leave it straight black, but let's see. Yeah, that'll work. And again, I don't need this to be a straight line. It's better if certain areas are a little thicker, certain areas are a little thinner. Now, one thing, and this camera probably can't pick it up, but I've got a little bit of a grainy look right here, that kind of dry brush look, these little dots. I need to get rid of those. That tells me I need more paint and more water on my brush. I do not want this dry brushed effect. But it's good if some of this gets a little thicker, so I'll push harder and then go a little lighter. I want variation in here for the seam between these wood planks. So I'm not trying to make this even. If you want even, I swear by masking tape. I'll turn this on a little bit better. I got a new light for my easel, and I absolutely love this thing. It's so easy to adjust the lighting and where it's set up, and it is so much better than my Ott light. So far, anyway. I've been using it for, I don't know, maybe a month or two. I don't think I have. I probably have it linked on the supply list over at my website. If not, I need to update that. Let's see. Jesse Ramirez says that they have thousands of brushes that don't even work. Yeah. How do I feel about watercolor? It's not my preference. I like the permanence of like acrylic or with the Inktense, the way that I can layer and glaze. It just like my brain understands that better. With ink or with watercolor, it's just different the way that you lay it down and the way that you layer. And it's not something that I've ever gotten super interested in, but I do think that I want, this line is so messed up over here because I can't reach it. I'll have to fix that later. That's actually kind of hilariously bad. But I do have a set of pencils that Derwent gave me that I want to play with that look like they were kind of fun. I was actually kind of enjoying that in the sketchbook, so you may end up seeing me do more with watercolor pencils in the future, because I did kind of like those that Derwent gave me. I just haven't had a chance to play with them much. What I need to do is just kind of tell myself, okay, you're going to finish a full project with this. Instead of just experimenting, just go for it, and whatever happens, happens. That usually works a bit better for me. What program do I use to edit my videos? Troy Moss asked. I use Cyberlink PowerDirector 16. I just upgraded from 15 to 16, and some of the changes already in that one, oh my gosh, things are so much better. Like, there are a few things that I really liking, like simple things on how you turn up or down the volume on a track. Before you would accidentally grab the wrong thing and it would adjust the wrong area, and now they made it so that doesn't happen anymore. You actually have to use a different hotkey for it, and I'm kind of excited about it because I just got it like a week ago. It was on sale. But yeah, Cyberlink PowerDirector 16 is what I'm using. Jenny has brush envy. It took years. I've been collecting brushes for 20 years, and some of my brushes are that old. So don't be too envious. It took me a long time to get that many. Never ever, like, if you ever see something that an artist has, and I know this isn't what you were saying, but just it got me thinking about it. If you ever see something that an artist has, whether it be a supply that you want, a type of camera that you want, anything like that, try not to let it discourage you, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get there. I'm never going to be able to get those supplies. I was there too. Eventually you will. It just takes a while sometimes. Okay, I need a smaller brush. This guy will probably work. So I'm getting a little bit of water on my brush, and I'm just going to focus right now with adding some of the black. So let's throw in maybe a knot here. Now, once I draw in, I'm going to paint this like the octopus isn't even there. My whole goal is to make an everything wood grain, top to bottom. I'm going to switch. I may switch to my airbrush as I get to the top. That won't happen tonight. But I may airbrush some where I want it to start getting out of focus. But my goal is just to get everything filled in. I don't care if I have my brain is going to shut down a lot. I really need to make sure I get a nap before live streams. I don't know where I was going with that, honestly. We'll come back to that later. Oh, I'm not going to worry about where the octopus goes or trying to work around that. I'm just going to paint this. Wood grain is fast to paint. I'm just going to paint this everywhere. And then if once I draw in the octopus, I realize, ooh, that knot in the wood looks weird, like it's touching the octopus in a weird area, drawing attention weird, I'll just move it and change it later. It's really not a big deal. Pamela Green has a brush problem too. Luckily, they don't take up too much space. Heather said, can you go over how you keep your paint moist again, please, since we buffered when you were explaining it? Yeah, just normally I won't explain stuff because you can just back up the video, but in case that didn't get caught, I do want to explain that. So what it is, this palette, it's got this lid that goes down on top of that. It's the Masterson. It's meant for oil paint. I'm using it for acrylic, and I like that better than the one they make for acrylic. Part because the red lid I thought was ugly. But I've got a glass, it's a New Wave glass palette with gray on the back of it. That is what's inside of it. And what I've got is this is just a paper towel that I threw a bunch of water on. It's wet enough that if I squeeze it, you can see it'll drip out. I mean, it's that wet. When I put the lid on the palette, it keeps enough humidity in this that the paint stays wet. I have paint, I didn't open this in like 2 months because the last time I think I used it, and it was still, the paint inside, a lot of it was still wet. Not all of it, some had dried, but a lot of it was still wet. That's crazy for acrylics. But if you're just painting, you know, over the week, most of this will stay dry, and or wet. If it starts to dry, like anywhere where I've mixed small things, like that will dry. All I have to do is take this little scraper and just scrape over it. I really should be holding this still. But you just scrape over it, and that's how you clean it. And it is so easy. I'm really liking this a lot better than my old tinfoil method. But they make, the Mastersons, they make one for acrylics where you've got this kind of sponge paper type stuff that stays wet that you put at the bottom. I'm really sensitive to mold. I hate the smell of wet, like something that's been wet for a long time. So I've been hesitant to try that. Plus, I actually didn't, because I've had students use them, and I didn't like how the paint mixed on the palette, like the actual feel of mixing it. I just didn't like those, where it almost was like blending acrylic on cloth. It's a very odd feeling. Let's see. So see how I'm just kind of sketchy? I'm being super messy. Some of this is a little bit darker, some has a little less water. More water is going to make it more translucent. Less water is going to make it more opaque, but variation is a big deal at this point. And this will look flat. By just painting this one layer like this with just black up against the brown, it's going to be really, really flat. When I start coming back in with different colors, with highlights and more midtones, it'll make a really big difference. And I'm actually, Patreon this week, because I'm behind on everything, I found old footage for a video of butterflies and candles from a really long time ago. So that video will be up, it should be up tomorrow for you guys. I edited it. I've been having a hard time saying that. Edited it last night. So I've got to upload it tonight, and then it'll be ready for you guys tomorrow. But that one goes over wood grain too, a little bit less detail than what I'll probably end up doing on this one. But you guys will have that tomorrow. Friday at the latest. Vladimir said, do you think you will ever try new mediums such as pastels or gouache? I've tried most mediums. There's very few out there I've not tried. Now, different styles, there's a lot of those that I haven't tried. But as far as mediums themselves, I've tried most. I try new ones at least once a month because of Smart Art Box. So, I mean, yes, I will definitely try new ones in the future. But like pastels, gouache, I have used those. They're just not my preference. Pastels, I hate the feel of them on my hands, the dryness. And while I love the work that they produce, they're too messy. I don't like that the work feels like it's never permanent to me. Like I could never get the fixative to stay on there well enough that it can't be smudged. It's just not for me. Love the look of it though. David wants to know if I primed the canvas with any medium. No, the canvas comes pre-primed. This one is Fredericks, and just for transparency, I am sponsored by Fredericks. But the Fredericks canvas, this one is, I say that like I'm not excited. I actually am excited to be sponsored by them. They're an amazing company. But I keep not knowing where to look. I forget that the camera's on the laptop. But this one is a acrylic primed linen, Belgian linen canvas, and every canvas that I use comes pre-primed, so I don't need to add gesso. The only time that I will add gesso to a canvas myself is if I get one, like I have some Fredericks ones, they're convexo canvases, the round ones that I love so much. They're not smooth enough for my taste or for how I work, so I put a couple of coats of gesso and then just sand it down, and that solves that problem. But yeah, it's not, it doesn't need it. Most canvases that you buy are already primed. Basically, the easy way to tell is if the canvas is stark white, it's probably got gesso or primer on it already. If it's not, if it's kind of like the cream or canvas color, that color lets you know it needs to have gesso put on it. Lila wants to know if I've tried pan pastels. Yeah, briefly. Just not my preference. Yeah, everybody always recommends pan pastels, and it's just not for me. I've messed with them. They're cool. Not for me. And I don't want to discourage anybody. Like, if you like pastels, I am in no way saying that they're bad or not as good as another medium. That is definitely not the case. They're just not my preference. I have a freak weird thing about dryness and mess and dust. Hi, Marilyn. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, Caitlin says, how do you clean your brushes after using touch-up texture and titanium white? OMS is not cleaning it. Yeah, OMS won't clean it. Use water. Just straight water is all you need. Rinse it. I just rinse it in the sink. Really easy to clean. I tried using OMS once because I didn't have access to water. It was actually at a workshop I was teaching, but I had OMS sitting right there. Yeah, that ruined that brush. Don't do that. Good question, though. And how do I get fine detail with sanded paper? Just like anything else, either Fisher 400 or UArt 500, and I will have that video probably tomorrow or the next day walking you through the basics of powder blender, and I talk about the paper. But UArt 500 and Fisher 400, I have no problem at all getting fine detail with those. What do I think about gouache? It's cool. It's the thing that's so cool about gouache. Gouache is great for like illustrators or for photographing your artwork. It dries completely flat, and it's so easy to get really good photos of. So that's one huge bonus with gouache. Do you have any suggestions for cleaning acrylic off brushes for storage if water isn't doing the trick? It depends. Is the acrylic dry? I mean, the water should do it good enough. But one of the things that I like to do every so often is use my brush cleaner from, what is it? The Masters. One of those. I don't remember things. That one works really well. It should be in my supply list over on my website, but I feel like I'm like trying to super hard push my website with the supply list. It just makes it easier if you can just go there and find the links. But if that one is the one that I really like for cleaning my brushes. I've known of artists who soaked their brushes in like Goo Gone or something like that to get dried paint out. I've never tried it, but I heard it works. But I can't vouch for what those results were like. What do I think of the one-stroke technique? I think that is so fun. One-stroke is generally used as a craft. So like it's like advanced toll painting. It is beautiful. It's Donna Dewberry is the one who came up with that. We used to have a teacher who taught it at Michael's when I ran their classroom in California. And that was, I've always been impressed with that. And there are times even when I paint, I technically am using one-stroke techniques where I double load the brush to get different things. It's not something that you're going to get really realistic work from. If you want your work to look really realistic, you're probably not going to be doing one-stroke type blending, but it's great. Like if I were to do, let's say I wanted to paint a floral border around my studio, I'm going to use one-stroke for that. Like hands down, that is how I'm going to paint that. I think it looks better. I like that style for that. So it just depends on what you're doing. Scrolling down. Do I have a tutorial on prepping canvas and using gesso? No, I don't, but I should. I will have to make one. I will add that to my to-do list. Because I definitely, one of my things I'm really working on this week, I want to make more videos that you guys want to see. Things that you would, be searching for. So I will definitely be getting one of those done. I know you said you didn't like the pastels, but can you give me tips on looking for beginners? I was thinking of getting some. Could you give me some tips? Yes, find somebody who uses them. Go Sheldine at Fine Art. If you look at her on YouTube, I think I've got her channel listed or linked with my If you go to my homepage, YouTube page, I think it's listed there, and Jason Morgan both do amazing pastel work. I think Unmask Art might as well, but those are the people that I would go to ask. You don't want to ask someone like me. I don't specialize in it, so I'm not going to be able to give you good information. I know it's easy because I'm here, but go to somebody who uses them and uses them well. Those are the people you want to talk to. Whoops. What is my opinion on Joe Sanja acrylic gouache? I don't know. I haven't used any of them enough to really have much of an opinion, where even if you gave me a single tube and said, here, go review this, unless I'm very experienced with working in multiple brands of gouache, I really can't give you a good review. I would need to be very, very, use the medium a lot. Like acrylics, I could compare Goldens to, oh, my thing is buffering again. Let's see if I get kicked off. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to stop talking. Oh, that's still going. Okay, it looks like we're back. Whoops, and where did my chat go? I could compare acrylics because I've worked in them for so many years. I know what I'm looking for. But with gouache, I wouldn't. This is another case where it's like, you want to make sure when you go to people for advice, go to the right person. Now, I can give you advice on general painting, contrast, composition, that sort of thing applies across the board. But when it comes to certain specific brands, if it's not something that you see me use regularly, I can't tell you a whole lot about them because I just don't have the experience. I don't want to steer you the wrong way just so I sound super smart. I'll tell you guys if I don't know something. But I actually don't know off the top of my head of any artists who specialize in gouache. So I can't even tell you where to go for that one. Pastels I can tell you, but not, I don't know on that one. We have, Pocky Prince wants to know why some artists are against using water with acrylics. Because somebody made a video that did the fear-mongering crap that drives me crazy, but I hate fear-mongering, but that said if you add water, it makes it so the paint will crack, and she showed the science behind how the paint molecules bond together. She used so much half information. Part of what she was saying was absolutely true, but not all of it, and so because not all of it was true, it was a mess. But basically there are videos that got a lot of views. I thought it was funny that they had to turn the comments off one of those because people were like, no, that's not true. Apparently she didn't want to hear it. But the acrylics, the more water you add, the less adhesive they are. If you add a lot, you're making it translucent, so that's good for glazes. But if you add a ton, it doesn't stick to the canvas. So I could have a really thin layer that I thinned with water. Now this was thinned with water. Nothing I do, I can scratch that. That is not coming off. But if I did that on something that I had really, really thinned down with water, I mean thin, like running off the canvas, thinned down with water. If I did that, that could scrape it off. It doesn't adhere. So you don't want to add too much. You just need to, add enough, which is subjective, so that's not super helpful, but adding too much will cause problems. And that's what a lot of the videos that I've seen were doing. They were kind of teaching people worst case scenario, but not explaining, I mean, driving a car is especially dangerous if you're speeding in areas you shouldn't be, around the side of a mountain. That's really dangerous, but that doesn't give you the rest of the information that if you drive a car at normal speeds on straight roads, you're a lot safer. I mean, I feel like it was a lot like that. Just partial information. Oh my gosh, you're going to die if you drive a car. Well, yeah, if you're speeding around the corner of a mountain, probably. But anyway, so that is, that's why a lot of people are afraid to use it. They'll watch a video or they'll read an article and it only gives half truths. I've been working with acrylics. I've been using this brand of acrylics for 20 years. Oh gosh, I'm old. It may be longer than that by now, but 21 years. Nothing I painted 20 years ago. I used to paint furniture. I would stand on that furniture. Once it's varnished, it's not coming off. Even if you did thin it down with a lot of water, once you put a permanent varnish on it, it's not coming back off. So it's not a problem either way. But I mean, I wouldn't recommend adding that much water anyway. But that seems to be the main reason that most artists will freak out about it. What's another set of colored pencil that pairs well with polychromos pencils on Fisher 400 sanded paper with powder blender? Luminance or Durant Pro Color set. The Pro Color will blend with the powder blender. So if you're looking for another pencil that will blend with powder blender, Pro Color is the way to go. If you're looking for one for like final details, then the luminance would be my choice, because it doesn't really, the way that it sticks. I like the oil base or wax base for that, and I will be covering all of that in the video that's going up tomorrow. I can't wait for that one to go up. I spent extra time editing it and tried to use a different video camera, which actually cut out at the end, and I didn't realize it and had to mess with editing there. But anyway, I will be covering, make sure you watch tomorrow's video, because I'm going to cover all of that and really go over all the questions that people have for Powder Blender tomorrow or Friday, one or the other. But either, I mean, you can pair either with them. I'm actually really liking Pablo's with the, oh, where did I go? I just scrolled way too far, and my mouse computer just shut down. Pablo's I really like with Powder Blender for my final details, because those get amazing teeny tiny detail, but only for my final details. Let's see. And then Caitlin also asked, how do I use Pablo's? I'm thinking about ordering them. I got a sample and I really liked how they compare to luminance, or how do they compare to luminance? Now, here's the thing. If you liked them, that's really all that matters. I don't like luminance, or I'm sorry, I love luminance. I don't like Pablo's the way that I traditionally work with like odorless mineral spirits. They're too waxy for me. They're very much like Prismacolor Very Thins, which I was never a fan of. They just don't work well for my techniques. That doesn't mean they're bad. That just means for the way I work, they don't layer the same. They're just too hard and too waxy. But again, that does not mean they're bad. If you got a handful and you like them, then go for it. But they're definitely harder. They don't blend out as soft as luminance do. Luminance are a softer waxy feel, whereas the Pablo's are a harder wax feel. Different pencil companies themselves don't seem to know if their pencils anymore are considered wax or oil-based. They'll email people back going, no, ours are oil-based. Your website says they're wax-based. Kind of funny. Drives me crazy. It's like, you guys should get your own stuff straight. But the purpose is we need to know them as the wax-based are going to be your creamier. They're going to blend better. They're going to be a bit softer. Whereas the oil-based tend to be really good for smaller detail. Not that they can't be used for both, but that's kind of an easy way to tell. And then the oil-based work really, really well with Powder Blender, whereas the wax-based do not. But again, I'll be covering that in that video. Let's see. Linda wants to know how to wash her brush after varnishing. If you're varnishing with acrylics, I wash it in water and use the same way as I wash my regular acrylic brushes, water, and then you can use a brush soap like the Masters. I think it's the Masters. Wait, yeah, okay. Hobby Lobby is the Masters Touch. The brush cleaner is the Masters. Why do they have to confuse me like this? That's how I do. And with that, if it's oil, then I wash it in the paint thinner and then wash that in my my Masters brush cleaner and water. Let's see. Colin said, what type of brushes, bristle-wise, do I need for oil paints? Are my regular acrylic brushes I buy okay to use for oil, or should I be using hair and bristle? I typically like my brushes to be a little bit stiffer for oil than what I do with acrylics. I'm going to switch to unbleached titanium white for a bit for highlights, and I'm going to let these highlights be a little bit too high contrast, and I'll end up glazing over them to tone them down later. By later, I probably mean not tonight. But anyway, too much. Wipe some off on the easel. And this is why my easel's such a mess down there. I'm always wiping it off. For oil, I usually like brushes that are a little bit stiffer. Some of them I use that are the same. Now, that doesn't mean I'm using my actual acrylic brushes for oil brushes, because they will ruin them. The oil paint does ruin them. It hardens them over time. It doesn't, not a good blend. But mostly, I really like synthetic hog hair bristle for oil. But there are times that I will still use the Teflon bristle like I use for acrylic. It just depends on the type of effect that I'm going for. Wow, I can't talk. JPC13 Art said, any tips for setting up a studio in a small space? Taking over a section of my garage and I don't have a lot of room. Oh, I can understand that. My studio was, the last place I lived, it was my studio, my bedroom, my office, and my living room were one small bedroom in reality. I get trying to fit everything into a small space. The biggest thing I can give you, organization. Have everything organized, boxes for things, containers for things, or dresser. I have a dresser, I don't know if you can see it behind me, probably not, from IKEA, a big tall one. It was like $100. I use that, and I store, still to this day, I store most of my art supplies in there. Storage was really, really big. Behind me, which you can't see, but behind me, you can see it on the studio tour, I have all of the canvases on shelves. Those shelves are from IKEA, which are really cheap, and I know that's a requirement for a lot of us. The whole starving artist thing makes finding deals a necessity, but those ones are amazing. They're really, really inexpensive. I think the big, huge shelves were like $30, and then the smaller ones were like $20. So, I mean, for that big of a shelf, that was pretty good. And they seem stable enough, and I like how much you can adjust them. But shelves, storage things, box type things, I like wood crates just because they're pretty for storage. But having storage was probably the biggest deal, because if everything's sitting out all over the place, if your bedroom, or in your case your garage, if you've got other things in there and everything's all over it, I don't know, it just kind of kills the mood for wanting to paint. So organizing shelves, things to put everything in, is my biggest tip I can give you. Eric wants to know if Pro Colors are my cup of tea. If Pro Color were all light fast, they would be my absolute hands down favorite pencil. Performance, I loved them. They just blend so well. I could get details. It's just everything. Everything about that pencil is like the perfect blend of oil and wax-based pencil. Loved the performance. Not a huge fan of half of them not being light fast, or almost half of them. But the half that are light fast, I'm really happy to have. I do absolutely love them. If you don't care about light fast, if you are not selling your work, then yeah, I absolutely recommend them. If you're selling your work, then you've got to filter through which ones are light fast or not. And I know Derwent says this, and a lot of companies do this. It's not just Derwent. They'll say that they have, that they're light fast, anything above like a 3. If you're a colored pencil artist, anything below a ranking on the Blue Wool scale, a 5-6 is not light fast. So a 3, definitely not light fast. A 3, a 2, anything ranked a 2 or a 3 is going to fade in 2 to 15 years. That is not considered light fast. Actually, I'm putting the highlight on the wrong end of that board. I'm having my light source come here. My highlight under that edge is actually going to be right here. It's going to be on the bottom side of that. Just knowing where that, I don't really worry too much about where my light source is yet. I'm going to come back through and edit that once I draw everything else in. But I do want to know, this is a deep ridge. This goes in. The light would be catching on this part of the ridge, not this part on this side. Usually if my light source is like where I'm sitting and going this way, then the light would typically be catching that side and not this side. But because my light is coming from here that way, I'm going to highlight this edge more. Pamela said I only have OMS. Can I use that on luminance? Absolutely. It works beautifully on luminance. I'm scrolling because I missed a bunch of comments. Nicholas Edgars said Pablo's are on their way. Oh, I'm kind of jealous. And I don't know why I haven't ordered them yet. I need to. Like, I don't have a good reason that I haven't ordered them other than that I just haven't. And I really, really need to. Tanya said, where do you think the best place to buy Caran d'Ache luminance colored pencils are? Where was it? Either Dick Blick and Jerry's Artorama are usually priced the same. Those are the two companies I get most of my art supplies from. Usually I go with blick.com, or dickblick.com is my preference because I love their customer service and everything's always packed so well. But I've always had good results from Jerry's Artorama too, so both work. Let's see. Mr. Whippy said, I'm curious about being a YouTuber. What kind of camera do you recommend and how much time do you spend editing? Too much. Is that a good answer? The camera depends. Like the video, if you look at the video I put out today talking about the whole YouTube apocalypse, people having a meltdown over nothing, that video was shot on my DSLR. It's the same camera that I take good photos with. The problem was I forgot to turn on all the lights, and so half my face is in the dark, but that's super, super clear. If you compare that with like the video that went up a couple days before the Smart Art Box where I did the abstract acrylic painting, that one was this one actually, the Canon, they're both Canons. I can't see it. The writing's in a weird place. It's listed at the bottom of most of my videos which one that is. the thing that I like about the video camera, it stays on longer. So like I can be recording for 8 hours straight, and as long as my memory card has enough space, it will store all of that. It's no problem. When you record on a DSLR, I think it looks better. If you've got nice lenses, it looks amazing, but you have to remember that it's going to keep shutting itself off every half an hour, and I don't trust myself to remember that. That's why I really prefer the Canon Pixma HXG, I don't know, I'm throwing out numbers out there. If I say all of them, one of them will be right. But I like that this one just keeps recording. So that's why I go with that. But I think I'm going to start using for vlogs or for the intros of videos using my DSLR. It's kind of a pain to set up, and I've had some issues with growing pains or learning pains, I guess you could say. So that's been a bit of a pain. But it looks really, really good. And you can compare by looking at what today's video looked like. Or, well, when the video goes up tomorrow or the next day, that one has better lighting. It'll give you a pretty good idea. So I think it's just personal preference there. But really, don't feel like you have to run out and get the best. Use whatever you have. If that's your iPhone, go for it. Use whatever you have available to you. Anything is good to get started because you've got to get used to being on camera anyway. Having really, really expensive camera equipment isn't going to make you comfortable on camera. So don't wait until you get the equipment before you start practicing being on camera. Start recording little self vlogs for your own Facebook page, anything. Start recording that on your cell phone for now if you need to, but whichever video you're watching of mine, I always have linked in the video description, almost always, have linked in the video description which camera that was. I don't think I did in today's video. That one is my Canon 6D. Heather said she fell in love with the 12 set of polychromos. Now she wants more. Oh, I know that feeling. That's what I did with the Pablos. I bought a handful and I loved them on Powder Blender, and now I want more. Rhonda said, with oils, there is fat over lean. What about water mixable oils with water? I don't use water mixable oils, so I don't know a ton about them other than that. I just was never a fan. But I'm not going to give you any advice on those. I would not be the go-to person for those. You want to find someone who uses and loves them, and they're going to be able to give you way more information than I can about that. I'm assuming it's the same, but I don't know, because with those you're still going to use a mixing medium. You don't just use water to thin them out like you do acrylics. It doesn't really work that way. So I would say find someone who's an expert with those. Man, I'm letting out the secret that I don't know everything tonight, aren't I? I'm like, I don't know anything. Pamela Green said, okay, I answered that one. Kim said, I mentioned a new light for my easel. What one did I get? It's white. Does that help? And I just blinded myself looking at it. It's right above me. I don't know if I have that on my website, honestly. If I don't, I will add it to the video description of this later tonight, because that is one I love. Actually, I think I linked it over at Facebook. You may have to go back a few months if you don't want to wait to find out what it's called, because it's not like a label on it that I can see what it's called. It was about $50, right around there. And it's been amazing. I really like it. Oh, I didn't put my... Here, you guys want to actually see the palette? There we go. Put some light on. I got two lights around the same time, but I don't have the name. So I will have to put a link in the description when we're done with the live stream. Remind me if I forget. What do I think is the best place to buy paint supplies? I really like Dick Blick and Jerry's Artorama online. If you're in person at a store, usually Hobby Lobby has the best prices, but you're going to be limited on what they have available. So you're not going to get a whole lot of options there. You're going to get more options mostly online. If you're in North Texas, there's a place called Azel Art Supply. They've got a really, really good selection. They tend to be a bit more money, but they have a ton of stuff. And their Frederick's canvases, are always 50% off. Or at least they were last time I checked, so you can get some really good deals on that. That's usually what I went into the store for, but they've got a good selection of paint that you don't really see at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Brian said, how are you keeping those paints so workable? I'm adding a little bit of water and they're drying. I mean, what I'm working, like this line right here, that is dry. I'm just going to work next to it. And it looks like it blends in. It doesn't. It's that I'm overlapping it. It's going on top of what's already there. And it looks blended, but it really isn't. And I'm intentionally being very sketchy because I want it to look like wood. Now I'm making this appear like this is going to take me a year to finish this background at this rate. It's not. When I'm not on the live stream, this goes super, super fast. Let's see. Ah, Azels are in South Texas too. Good to know. Do I ship my paintings internationally? Sweden. Some of them. It depends on the size, because shipping is expensive. So basically I can ship up to usually an 11 by 14 and keep it on the stretcher bars. Other than that, it needs to be small enough that I can roll into a tube. And even on the stretcher bars at the 11 by 14 inch, the price is insane. I had someone buy a 16 by 20 inch painting from Australia, and we looked up where she lived, how much, like the very cheapest shipping we could find was going to cost $450, and the painting was like 300 and something. It was going to be more for shipping than it was for the painting. So with her, what we did, the 16 by 20, we took it off the stretcher bars, and I rolled it into a tube, and she just knew she had to take it to a framer and have it put back on I keep talking to my microphone, talk to you. She took it to a framer to be put back onto stretcher bars. It was way, way cheaper for her to do that. So it depends on the size of the painting, if I can ship internationally or not. It's not that I don't want to, it's that the shipping rates are so outrageous. Valerie said, didn't I get the Daylight Duo LED art and craft light? Maybe. That sounds kind of familiar. That may have been it. I have no memory. I don't remember things, so I have to like go look up what I wrote down. I just don't have that in front of me. Let's see. Tiger said, I haven't been able to get unbleached titanium white. Do you think it can be mixed? If so, which colors do you use? White and ochre? Yes, it absolutely can be mixed. I mixed it for years. White and like either brown, you can add a little bit of yellow ochre. That would work too. A little bit of, it's just something to tone it down so it's not bold, bright white, and not very much. It would still mostly be white. You're just making a cream color. But yeah, I always used to mix my own. I thought it was silly to buy unbleached titanium. I'm like, why would I buy it? I can mix that on my own. Until I realized I use this color more than anything else, and I could save a lot of time by pre-buying it. But yeah, for years, I mixed it on my own. You can absolutely do that. Let's see. Bye, Eric. I'm a little bit jealous that you get to go sleep right now. So see, I'm just creating this texture, and look how fast, I mean, when I actually stop talking and paint, look how quickly that goes. I mean, I'm being very loose. Now, I am going to come back through here and tighten up some of this detail. It's not all going to be sketchy. I'm going to do this in layers, where I come back through and just make some of the lines a little bit more bold, make some of them stand out more. Caitlin says, I'm trying to reword my question. Tips on getting the wire-like texture on a lion's mane in colored pencil. Seems so jumbled up and I want a realistic look. Yes. Slow down. Basically. Don't try doing, it's so easy to look at the mane as a whole, or whatever you're painting, just to look at the thing as a whole. Don't do that. Look at one little square inch, copy what you see, and then move on to the next square inch. Break it down into little chunks, little teeny things. And remember that you generally don't want to try and draw every little strand. That tends to make it look stringy and too wiry. I mean, their hair is a bit more wiry. It's not fluffy like a Persian cat, but it's also not wiry like an Iberian hound. Or, well, a wire-haired Iberian hound. You don't want it that stringy looking. You've really got to watch that. So don't try to do every individual strand, or that's what happens. You'll unintentionally make it too stringy. Which Photoshop am I currently using? I am using whatever the newest one is. I pay the monthly fee, or I actually think I paid for a year in advance. So whatever they update it for you. It's something 2018, I guess. Okay. Eric has pre-calculus tomorrow. Oh, do not envy you. I struggle with basic addition, as you guys know from watching my videos. Do you have any tips for blending smooth backgrounds without any white showing in graphite? There are so many ways you can go. One is just to keep your pencil sharper. Start by using your lighter, like your 4H, your 6H. Start lighter with a very light hand with a very sharp pencil, so that the tip of the pencil is getting into all those little nooks and crannies of the paper. You don't want to just jump. It's easy to say, okay, I want a really dark background, so I'm going to jump into the darkest, 9B, and I'm going to go over that. The problem is you're not going to get into all those nooks and crannies, and that is where the white dots are showing through, the white of the paper is showing through. Start with your lighter pencils, 2H, 3H, 4H, something like that, with a very sharp lead, lightly go through that, light hand, little circles, fill that in, and then just build up until you're using your darkest pencils. That's going to give you more even coverage. You can also use graphite powder. That's kind of one of my favorite ways to go because it's so fast. Graphite powder with a soft tool, the ones that we use for pastels, or I use for powder blender, those work beautifully with graphite powder. And you can get, if you look up Lachri and graphite, or Lachri and Tamara, and I did a little monkey and he with graphite, and that background got filled in so quickly because of the, no wait, it wasn't him, I take it back, it was my chicken. Look up Lachri, graphite, and cockatiel, or bird, I don't remember what I listed it as, but that got really, really like great coverage in the background because of the graphite powder. So that would be my favorite way to go. Benite says, I'm not saying the first part of that because someone will get mad at me. I'll go hunting for all the art materials I see on your page. It's a tough job. I want all I paint is art. Yeah, that's funny. I know what you mean. I've been watching videos from this photographer, videographer, whatever, Peter McKinnon. Amazing videos. And I've been watching some of the stuff that he films and his advice, and if he lists a supply, I'm like instantly pause the video, I have to go buy it right now. Like I need to own that. Like he was talking about these little ties that he uses to tie cables down, and I'm like obsessed with idea. I've got to get those now. So yeah, I know what you mean. I do the same thing. Right now my obsession is photography and video so that I can make my videos better. Not because I want to become a photographer, but I want I want to create better videos for you guys. And so I've been watching these and I do the same thing. Like he has a pack, a photography pack, Let's Pack. Yeah, I bought that like the second I found that. I mean, I so understand where you're coming from. Linda says, do I need to varnish my acrylic painting before finishing it in oils? No, do not put a varnish on. You just go straight onto it with oils from there. If you put a varnish, that seals it and the oils don't really stick and you could end up with archival issues later on. So I would definitely not put varnish in between the acrylics and oils. Just put the varnish of the oils on top of everything when you're done. Jenny said, in Australia, our shipping is just as crazy as it costs a horrendous amount to send parcels to the U.S. and international in general. Yeah, it is crazy to me how much that costs. I mean, with the internet, you would think with everyone buying stuff that would get eventually cheaper. It'd be nice if we would see a change in that. But it is insane right now. I mean, on my website where I have all my originals, I had to actually write on most of those, depending on the size. I can't ship it internationally, and I feel bad. I don't want to exclude anyone if it's something that they really wanted, but the price is just incredible to ship some things. I remember when I first started selling on eBay, somebody bought a painting, and it was actually one about this size. I think it was this size. There were two that the person bought. And they were maybe $100 each. Shipping ended up being $110. So that was, and also that $100 for something this size is crazy, but I was new. But that one, I got really lucky because we didn't know it was going to cost that much till we shipped it. We just thought, oh, it'll be about, I don't know, $40. So, that was kind of crazy. And then UPS or whoever we sent it through lost it. And because they lost it, we got the shipping back. Well, months later, it turned up and they got it, but they let me keep the free shipping. So it actually worked out really good, but it was a good lesson of, oh my gosh, it costs way more to ship than you think it does. See how easy this is? I'm just sketching back and forth. I'm being messy. I don't need anything to be perfect. Jesse said, is it true that using water in your airbrush could rust the inside? I'm asking because you said use water to mist and keep your paint wet. Well, that wouldn't make sense. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't rust. It shouldn't. If your airbrush is made well, it shouldn't. But beyond that, how are you going to clean it? At some point, you're going to be running water through it. So I don't know. And I don't know what airbrushes people are using. I don't know what areas wear down. I've had the same airbrush for about 20 years, and I've never seen anything like that in mine. I've got another one that I've had less time, the Iwata Neo. Same thing. I've never seen anything like. I think this is probably stainless steel. I mean, it shouldn't, or maybe not stainless steel. Words are hard. I don't know. I've never had a problem with it. Kyle said, "Is this the octopus fishbowl piece?" It is. Tess said, try express shipping with USPS. Somehow it can be less than regular. It depends. I mean, whenever I go to ship stuff, I always have them. They'll pull up the price for every different option and I can choose, and it just depends. Stalin said, which open stock polychromos pencils do you find you need to replace most often? Caput Mortem, which I'm saying wrong, and black probably are the two that I use most often. Some of the blues, there's like, I want to say it's an indigo blue. I forget. That one I go through a little bit more often. But yeah, black. And now that I'm using it with the powder blender, I'm using white a lot too. Before I used powder blender, I never used white because it doesn't really show up, but on sanded paper, it's great. I'm not even going to worry about the edges. I'm just going to kind of focus right here for now, since that should show up on the camera. Coffee time. Okay. I'm going to actually start pulling in some reddish brown tones. Let's start warming some of this up. I don't need a lot. That's way more than what I'm even going to need. Maybe use a little bit of this guy. That one is raw sienna. The reddish color I put down was red oxide, in case you're wondering. Ah, and they're all falling off my desk. Or I say desk like it's all professional. Yeah, it's a TV tray. They're really convenient though. You can fold them up and move them out of the way. Courtney said, what would you say are the pros and cons of using a glass palette over the other types of palettes? The plastic, I always found to be hard to clean. Hold on, I missed a call. From a number that is not mine. That was going to be spam. Hold on. Yay, my friend got some footage of snow for me to use in my videos. Okay, I don't think any of this. I just need to make sure, like, I don't have any emergency calls from my husband or mom or... No, we are good. Okay, that is probably going to be too red. It's okay, I'm going to glaze over it. It doesn't matter, it won't stay that red. But what was the question I was answering? Oh, pros and cons of using a glass palette over other types of palettes. This is way easier to clean. Way easier. Now, of course, when I was using tinfoil, just throwing the tinfoil away was easier to clean. But I was kind of torn between, wow, I feel super wasteful right now. If I can avoid producing so much waste, that would be kind of nice. And something a little bit easier with the tinfoil. Let's say I was painting, like this is going to start to dry, like it's already starting to dry in this area. What I can do when that dries, I can easily just clean my palette off. Look, I've got a clean spot now. If that was tinfoil, I can do that. That would have torn. I have to work around it. And if you work over an area that started to dry with acrylics, it'll kind of flake up into these little chunks and mix into your paint, and that gets on your canvas, and it's a whole thing. So this, I don't have that problem. I'm able to just clean any areas off, scrape it with that little razor blade thing that I don't want. So that's the biggest thing, is just cleanup is way easier. I'm a big fan of finding... Patty says, so many spammy numbers ringing this week. Mine has been horrible. I've got a woman in Southern California. What is her name? I know her name. I actually did a background check or search on her to get her information, because her and her son Nicholas something. Nicholas, is it Gonzalez? No, Gonzalez? No. Nicholas Gonzalez? Gonzalez. I don't remember. Nicholas something. They have been using my number. You know how when you go to a store and they want you to give your number, and so you just give them a fake number? Apparently, I guess that's a thing. That's what they've been doing, but they've been using my phone number. Now, I'm from Southern California. They're from Southern California, so I think they just picked a random number. The problem is they've been doing it for the last couple of years. And the real thing, or thing that really made me mad, is when I went to a grocery store recently and my phone number was used. They used my number to sign up for their rewards card, so I couldn't use my number. I was angry. That did not please me. So I contacted them. I want to say her name's Sylvia or Maria. There's two of them that are doing it. They live together. And I looked her up. I did you can pay like $2 to do a background search, or not a background search, but get people's information if you have their phone number and address or whatever. Well, obviously I have the number she's been using. So I looked it up and got her information. I looked her up on Facebook and I sent her a message. I was just like really nice. I didn't want to be confrontational, because I didn't want her to go, well, screw you, I'm going to do it even more now. I played kind of stupid, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know why this is happening. Can you just, if you've been using it, can you make sure to use a different number or whatever? I get calls from them, from creditors nonstop. I got a call from the police wanting me to donate money because they were asking for the Nicholas guy. I mean, I get calls nonstop for these people. It's the two of them, and they're still, to this day, they're still using my number. I was hoping when I called her that would get her to stop. I don't know if you could do like legal things because it's kind of identity fraud, phone number fraud. And you think, well, just get a new phone number. I have no guarantee it's not going to happen with a new phone number either, so there's no real reason to do it. I've had this number for like 20, no, longer than that. No. When did I get this phone? 1998 or 1999? I've had this number. That phone number was attached to a brick of a phone the first time I got it. I got it just to keep in my truck for emergencies before you could actually afford to make calls on it. I used to have to write down the numbers, like to make sure I didn't go over my minutes. I would write down, like, okay, I made a call to my mom to let her know where I was really quick. There was 2 minutes off my time. Oh, this is super orange. I don't like that. But yeah, that phone, it's not like the phone number used to be theirs. It's always been mine. So it's a bit annoying. But yeah, I get nonstop calls because of those jerks. Have I considered keeping an aquarium? I used to keep a 60-gallon reef tank, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely did not love taking care of it and having to worry about when the power went out, because I had it crash once while I was gone for the weekend at an art show, and power went out, and when I came home, the fish, something, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the neighbor put her hand, that was taking care of them, put her hands in the water. Maybe she had a chemical on them. I don't know. I've never seen a tank crash quite the way mine did, where I came home and everything, even the bristle worms out of the rock were in the live rock. Even the live rock, I mean, everything was dead in that tank. I was so upset because I had fish that I'd had for years and years and years. I had a sailfin tang that had a hole in the head that I got through with using these special vitamins and feeding it vegetables, and I actually cured it. And I mean, I had this fish forever, and he loved me. He'd get all excited when I'd walk in the room. Yes, fish do that. At least the marine fish do. But yeah, that was soul crushing, and I kind of don't want to deal with that again. I did set the tank up again, and it was beautiful, but then when we were moving, it was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So someday when I can afford to, someday when I'm rich, someday when I can afford to have someone else maintain or do the maintenance on the tank, then I would love to get another one. I loved my tank. Courtney said, what is that little tool you are using to scrape the paint off? I don't know. Look up palette scraper. It's a razor blade. That's all that's in here. It just is a razor blade that slides in, but it's held horizontally. I probably shouldn't mess with this. I'll end up cutting myself on camera, and it's going to be a whole embarrassing thing. That would be just like me too. But that's all it is a razor blade, but it's held completely horizontal, so it's easy to scrape. Have I used watercolors much? No, I have not. I really can't give you much information on them at all. I have, Derwent sent me their watercolor pack, and I kind of played with it a little. And those are just the watercolor pencil. I actually did like what I was playing with, but I haven't really done much with them yet. I've got a bit too much water in, too thin. Have I used watercolor? Oh, that was that question. Huh, I got it. And Mr. Woofy said it's a glass scraper. So there's your term. It's really nice. Like, this is starting to dry, and I don't know if you can see, like, it gets chunks will come off. Can I get some off on there? But these chunks will come off, and they end up in the painting, and it's so nice now when that starts to dry, just to be like, okay, I'm done with that, and then continue on. I've got that spot ready to work on again. I have been loving this setup. I don't know, like, how did it go so many years without ever trying the glass palette? It is just so much easier for oils, acrylics. I actually like it better on my acrylics. Like, it's even more convenient for them than I think it is with the oils, because it dries so quickly there when it's open. Marilyn's fish know her when she feeds them too. They're so cute. I love fish. I really want goldfish. I just don't want to take care of them. They are a dirty fish. I want one with the telescope eyes. But, again, don't really want to take care of them. A lot of it, too, my back can't handle doing water changes because of, well, my back. So that was turning into a real problem when it was time to clean the tank. Just lifting the 5-gallon buckets of water when you changed them, there's no way I could do that anymore. Do I still have the car? Are you talking to me? I don't know if you're talking to me. I don't have the truck I used to drive, if that counts. I missed that truck. It was a Ford Ranger. It's like my first car was an old Mustang, like an '89 Mustang, and it wasn't even the cool kind. Like, it wasn't old enough to be cool. It was had a normal trunk, and it was a sedan, and it was not the best. It had problems, but then I got the Ford Ranger. Oh, that truck was my baby. I loved that truck so much. Yeah, Vinny said it's easy to clean glass too. I made one with my old photo frame. I use acrylics. Yeah, a lot of people will make their own. The reason that I decided against that, because I mean, you could just go buy something this size. I needed something, I want to say is this one tempered glass? I forget what. But it's a little bit more sturdy than the glass that came in the frames. And I cut myself a lot. I am prone to causing injury to myself. So I'm like, this one has rubbery edges. I'm less likely to cut myself. So I felt a little bit safer. I am so nervous handling glass because I'm really clumsy, and yeah, that ends up being an issue. JPC 13 Art said, do you use the same sheet of glass for oils and acrylic? It's the same type of palette, but I have a different palette for oil and a different one for acrylic, but they're both the exact same setup, same items that are inside. I'm going to start pulling some of this black through. Actually, I'm going to mix a little bit of magenta in with it. Oops, that's brown. Let's make it a little deeper. Believe it or not, black will look darker and deeper if you mix another color in with it. Like purple, blue, red. If you go straight black, it looks dull and flat. Now, more often than not, I'll start with black, but I usually will end up adding other colors in with it. So I'm going to better define a few of these darker bits and start looking a little bit more at my reference photo than what I've been doing. Can the design for making wood grain be used for the tree, bark of a tree? Yes. You want to watch with the tree though, because you're going to have it be slight, like it'll round out this way. So make sure that your bark, your wood grain is kind of moving that way. This type of grain, I mean, this would technically be the inside of a tree more, but you can do something similar with the bark. Just watch that it looks like it's curving around and isn't like just straight lines everywhere, because that will make it look flat. So we'll start getting some ridges going in different directions. I want to get a few bits of variation. Let's just focus on this now. So basically, once I get things where it's like, okay, I've got this kind of wood grain look. Now I'm going to zoom in even further. Now I'm going to start focusing on an even smaller area. Get a little bit of brown. I'm going to mix some of that in with my unbleached titanium white. And I'm just, oops, that's probably going to be a lot. We'll wipe some off. Start pulling highlights around this area in between what I just did with these little ridges. So see, I'm just going to come through now, focus on little bits. So I just keep tightening it up. Each layer is a little bit tighter, a little bit tighter, a little bit more detail. And what I'll do when I look at my reference photo, I just pick one little area. I'm like, okay, that teeny tiny spot, we'll do something similar. I don't need it to be even close to exact though. I'm just kind of looking at it to get an idea for different variation, different texture in the wood. I don't like this color. I need another color. Hold on one second. I will be right back. I'm going over to my dresser that has the paint. I need a yellow tone, because I'm not really getting quite the tone I am looking for. One of these, maybe. Nope. Naples yellow would be good if I could find it. But I don't know where it is. Oh, found it. Okay. Just want to get a little bit of a warmer look in here. Let's throw some Naples yellow. Now, Naples yellow is one of the colors, one of the yellow tones that is a bit more opaque. Yep, Naples yellow and yellow oxide with Liquitex Basics tends to be a bit more opaque. Then you have like the cadmium yellow, lemon yellow. Those are going to be much more translucent. Okay, let's see. I can't use black without your voice in my head telling me to add another color. Reminding me to look black. Good. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of artists hate black and will say never, never use black. It always looks flat. I don't think that's always the case. I like black a lot, but I always mix it with something else so it's not flat. Do I recommend doing studies on small canvases in acrylic? I used to be use horrible paint and bad technique. Do I recommend studies or a small project? Yeah, studies or a small project. Either or are definitely, and I would say studies. Small studies would be a good way to go because you can still work on the detail, but it's not overwhelming. You're not trying to blend this huge thing. Or even if you wanted to do a landscape, it's easier to blend small than it is big. And when you're learning acrylics, doing that small is definitely going to be I still keep looking at my microphone when I talk, can definitely be a good way to kind of start mastering the medium. It's less overwhelming. You're going to have better results, which is going to encourage you to want to do more and then, work your way up. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. It's not how I did it, actually. I did it by getting the biggest canvases I could find, and now I'm still stuck. I've got big canvases all over the place that I don't know what to do with at this point. But that's just what interested me. But I've seen people do better when when you just focused on a smaller thing to start with and then worked your way up into bigger sizes. Have fun drawing your mermaid, Jenny. She's going to draw a mermaid, not cartoon style. I love that thing. What are you doing? So we'll take this. I'm going to add a little bit of color in with it. Ooh, I like this color. Okay, this is much better. Now this will get toned down because I am going to end up glazing over all of it once I get all my detail in. So I'm intentionally going to let my contrast be a bit harsh right now. That will look better in the long run than having it not have high enough contrast, and then when I glaze over, toning things down too much. That really isn't going to give me the look that I want. See, just kind of sketching back and forth. So the brush is going one way, back a little bit the other way, and then long. It's not that, I mean, it's kind of how I do water, the back and forth, where you have a short diagonal, long horizontal. Caitlin said she used the toned paper by Strathmore and hated it for colored pencil. No tooth to it. My OMS kept lifting off the paper with that one. Huh. I've not tried that one. That's good to know. So one of the things, probably the most common thing I'm asked, is how do you know which color to use? How do I mix colors or learn to mix colors? By trial and error. Here, I didn't know which color I went and grabbed 3 tubes of yellow paint and threw them on, grabbed one. I thought, oh, this one looks closest. Let's see what happens when I mix this in. There's no magical, no artist sits there and just magically knows, I'm going to need 30% of phthalo blue with 40% of this, except for teal. That's pretty much 50-50 phthalo blue and phthalo green. That's the only one I know a mixture or have a definite mixture of. But I mean, I just added a little bit of that. I'm like, it's too yellow. Let's pull a little bit of this red tone to make it more orange. And there we go. I got a color that's close to what I want. You have to experiment and just see what works. You're not messing things up. If you do a color and you put it down, you're like, I don't like that. Paint over it. You didn't hurt anything. Would I ever consider doing a collaboration with other YouTube artists? I feel like I should have millions of subscribers. I've talked about doing them. Lena Dania and I have talked about it. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I've got people who I plan to make them with, and then everyone gets busy and forgets, and just time goes by. What's the finished piece going to be? It is going to be the octopus that I designed in Photoshop the other night, or a couple weeks ago, the octopus with the glass bowl. Denise wants to know if I'm planning to do a piece with both graphite and colored pencil in the near future. I wasn't planning on it, but it could happen. I don't always plan that far ahead, honestly. I mean, this one's going to take weeks. This will be a big project. I do want to do some combining the two, especially water-soluble graphite and colored pencil. I love together. So that is one on my to-do list. Now, as I add this, I can see that I definitely want my black line above that. I'll end up making that a lot thicker. Moonlit wants to know how I would do a portrait study. I've been wanting to do one, but I don't know how to do it. Just draw a small face and go nuts. Yeah? I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, just try drawing one, and if that doesn't, I mean, it's going to take practice. There's no, like, no one's going to tell you, oh, this is how you draw a portrait study. You're just going to draw a face or a close-up of a face. And if it looks terrible, that's fine. And don't get upset if it does. That doesn't mean you're terrible or not going to be amazing. It just means practice more. It's not something that happens overnight. But I see a lot of artists spend a lot of time saying, well, how do I paint this? How do I paint a cat? How do I paint a mountain scene? You've got to try. If you don't try, if you don't just jump in, you're not going to learn. Jump in, try, realize what didn't look so good, and then the more you, like if you watch YouTube videos, you'll watch something that somebody watched. Here's an example. I've been watching more videos on video, taking video, and like it started because I was looking up videos or tutorials for my GoPro. So I'll watch a video, and it's like when I watched it before I got the GoPro, I didn't understand what they were talking about. I was like, wait, what? Huh? Stable a what? I don't know what you're saying to me right now. Once I got the camera, played with it, then I could go back and watch that same video and everything made sense because it was like, oh, that's what he's talking about. I had that happen. Now I understand how to fix that. Now I understand how to change that. Now I understand whatever it is. But it didn't make sense until I got the camera, until I started playing with the camera. And that's the same thing with art. Until you start painting, the videos you watch, they're not going to make a ton of sense until you go, you paint, you run into an issue, and then go, oh, this is what they were talking about with the way you layer this, why you put this color on top of black, why you know, that sort of thing. You've got to jump in and do it before any of that is going to start making a lot of sense to you. I know I have a tendency, I like to watch videos, or I get obsessive. I like technology stuff. Like, I love cell phones. I have my Note 8 that I'm in love with that phone. I like to get excited because, you know, oh, the new one's coming out and I'm going to be getting that one. I get one every 2 years. So when that 2 years comes up, I am so excited to get a new phone. But anyway, when I get that, I will read reviews. I'm watching YouTube videos of people who got them and they give you tips. And it's a waste of time because other than just making me excited for it to come, I'm not learning anything. I'm not retaining anything until I get the phone. I'm not going to remember which settings they said to change to get the best results on whatever it was. The same thing with art. You have to go paint. Go to the easel, start painting, make some really ugly paintings. Then you can go back and watch videos and they're going to make so much more sense to you. Nicole wants to know if I'm planning to do another Paint With Me bird live stream. I definitely need to. Absolutely. I guarantee, like, I would be shocked if I didn't do another one this year. Like, and fairly soon, because that was a lot of fun. I liked the step-by-step, like we finish a painting in one video, so absolutely. Troy said, I'm actually using Strathmore toned tan paper as we speak. It's good for drawings with smooth blending, quick portraits, but not ideal for detailed work. You guys are making me want to go out and get some just so I can try it, because I've not used that one myself. Whoops. Joe says, not a question, but to thanks. The Patreon database is now permanently open on my browser in today's video, and it was so encouraging. So I'm planning to start a channel. Excuse me. They're not strictly art. Yeah, if you're patrons and you haven't seen this already, hopefully you have because I've been sharing it. But I changed the way, I made a database on my website. So you can now easily find all of the videos you want. That used to be so frustrating to try to find, what am I doing? Oh, I don't know why I just grabbed purple. It was so frustrating to try and find anything on Patreon. I mean, even for me, I know how to use Patreon and it was frustrating for me. So now it took forever. I spent so long, like last week, I think, So much work, so worth the amount of work it was though. So even if you're not on Patreon, if you go to my website, it's listed on the front page, like on the Patreon section. You can see where everything's listed. I'm really proud of how pretty it came out. Let's see. Vladimir says, are you the only artistic person in your family, including your husband's family? No, my husband is also an artist. He just is usually too busy playing video games to do art. Although this was funny. So we went, I got a camera or a gimbal for my GoPro. So you can get this super steady footage, and I was all excited. I want to include that. Like, you guys are going to see a lot more B-roll in my videos. I'm so excited about editing things in a way that make them a bit more interesting for you to watch. I'm hoping that it'll have more of an impact with teaching and motivating and all of that. So, the tutorials will pretty much be the same, but for like other things. So anyway, went to the zoo, and I had him taking, because I was taking regular photos with my DSLR, I had him taking photos or messing with the GoPro. And he's never really shown any interest. He loves going and looking at the animals, but he doesn't like to play with cameras. He never has any interest in taking photos or anything like that. Well, because I gave him basically an assignment and I handed him the gimbal with the GoPro and I was like, okay, go shoot footage for the next, as we walk around. A couple hours, and I don't even think it was a couple hours in, it was like right near the beginning. He looked at me and he's like, I'm so mad at you right now. I was like, why? You're having fun, aren't you? And he goes, yes. So now we were at the store the other day and I was like, I wonder when the new GoPro comes out. Maybe I want the 7 because my new bag holds more. We were joking. I don't really need the 7. Assuming that company doesn't go out of business before them. But anyway. I don't know why I just grabbed that color. That isn't what I wanted. Rinse that brush off. So he was commenting, he was like, well, if you get the new one, then I can get the one you have now. And I'm thinking, you already are going to use the one I have now. We don't need separate GoPros. But it was so funny because now he's kind of, I think he's got a little bit of the videographer bug. He was having a lot of fun getting cool footage for me. So, but yeah, he normally, as far as anything with art, he's amazing. The most art he does is if I need help. If I'm like, okay, my perspective is off on this and I'm just not seeing it, I can have him come in and he'll be like, oh, fix this. He'll just take my charcoal pencil and draw over it. And it's like, oh, you fixed it. So that's about the extent of what he does with his art now. Do I ever enter contests? No. Here's the thing with contests. Like, you have online ones, and they'll be like, oh, whoever gets the most votes. Okay, I have a decent chance because of the following with YouTube and social media. I don't think that's not a fair judgment of how good my art is versus somebody else. And it just kind of makes me uncomfortable. And I felt the same way before I'd built up the YouTube following. Those contests were a popularity contest. They weren't anything to do with your art. And so I didn't like that. And then when you go to art shows, it was kind of the same thing. I was just like, I feel like, the ones that I was going to anyway, this was years ago, so it's not even something I could tell you which ones they were. It was back in California. But it felt like people just voting for their friends, and the art wasn't being really judged well. I've got paint all over my pants. I will have to use vodka to get that out. Pro tip, you get acrylic paint on your clothes, vodka. Just soak it on that and take your, like a toothbrush, and scrub over that, and you'll get the vodka right out. Throw them in the washer, and everything is good. But yeah, the art shows that I went to, I got frustrated because I would see artwork and it wasn't a matter of, oh, mine is so good, mine should win awards. It was more, I'd look at artwork that was phenomenal, that wasn't mine. Like these other artists who were just so amazing, and their artwork never won because it was realistic. It was like only abstract work was getting awarded at most of the shows, or impressionistic. And it's not that there's no value in abstract or impressionism, but it got to the point where it was like, clearly these judges are not, at the shows that I was going to, are not going to award realism, and that's what I liked. Or surrealism really had no chance, which was funny because my surreal pieces would sell, or one of them at one show sold for far more than anyone else's, including the award winners. To me, I was like, you know what, that's more important to me. I want my artwork to go into someone's home, they're going to enjoy it. That matters more to me than winning a 50-cent ribbon or whatever. And it was discouraging to see how much work was I just wasn't liking it. And a lot of that is the shows that I was entering. I'm sure that there are art shows that are amazing and judge people much more on the art, and it's so subjective. So for me, it got to the point where I just wasn't enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. It didn't benefit my career. Technically, yes, I'm an award-winning artist. Does it really matter? Does anyone care that I won a ribbon and like $300 or something? I forget what I won, or $100. I don't know what it was. No one cares. It didn't help my career in any way. It's just, so for me, if I did a show, it's because I'm going to go to try to sell a piece, but not because I'm trying to win that award. I mean, if you win the award, great, but it's just too, there's too many things in there that are too subjective and I didn't enjoy. Would I consider doing plein air paintings, not necessarily outdoors? Actually, I'm going to be recording myself. One of the things I was talking about with doing B-roll, I have this area that I live near, and I can sit out on this like thing, this cement block that protrudes over the stream or the creek. I'm gonna get some video of me out there drawing in my sketchbook, and then I was like, wait, that actually would be fun. I was just thinking of ideas for video, and then realized, you know what, I think I would thoroughly enjoy that. So I'm probably going to take watercolor pencils and a sketchbook and go draw outside, like draw the stream and just sketch what's around. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that soon. Normally I don't like working outdoors because the bugs and the wind, but in this case I'm just going to bring, you know, a few, maybe 3 different colors, not a ton, a water brush so that I can thin them out, or maybe use water soluble graphite because then I can use just a couple pencils. And paint there, but then I don't have to worry too much about the wind and the bugs because I don't have a ton of supplies and I'm not trying to set up on an easel with a painting. I don't like painting outside. Bugs come by, they get stuck in the wet paint. They're just, no, not my cup of tea. Let's see, on Fine Art America where you can get a yoga mat made of your art. What products have you ordered on here? I'm worried about looking pixelated. I'm a personal trainer and I want one. I've not seen those. I have no idea. I didn't even know they were available on yoga mats. So I can't say on that. I know that my mom had a phone case made from them and I saw that in person and the colors weren't really that close to my painting. It looked cool, but it wasn't what the colors that my thing was. But that was different because it was painted or printed on a phone case. So the prints themselves, I've not heard anyone complain about the results that they got. They should be high quality. I mean, I've not had any complaints, so there's that, but I don't know anything about the yoga mat. Let's see, what is my opinion on having an art having meaning? Do your pieces have meaning, and do you think art needs a meaning? Well, I think it depends on your definition of the word meaning. For me, the meaning is this makes me happy. That is meaning. This is something I enjoy. I enjoy making something beautiful, something that somebody looks at and it makes them happy. That is the meaning of my art. That is meaning enough. And occasionally I'll have a deeper meaning, you know, something, my lion with the earth and all of that, the one called The Art of War and the red ribbon going through there, that was more symbolic and that had meaning. But for the most part, the majority of my paintings, my meaning is somebody to come by and go, that makes me feel happy. To me, that's meaning. So yes, I think art should have meaning, but it depends on what your definition of the term meaning is. A lot of people think it needs meaning as far as that's so deep. Look at it, that artist is wounded and they're reflecting their wounded emotions onto the canvas. And while yes, great art therapy, by the way, if you are wounded and depressed and anything, paint. But I don't mean to make light of that situation. I know that's very, very serious. I've dealt with that in the past, so I know what that feels like. But I mean, for me now, my meaning is to just make something that makes people happy when they see it. Let's see. Is it snowing where I am? Not that I'm aware of. It could. It's cold enough to snow. Actually, Alexa, what's the temperature?
Currently in Grapevine, it's 28 degrees.
28 degrees. So it could snow, but we don't have any. Alexa, stop. We don't have any precipitation right now. Wow, that word was weirdly hard to say. So no snow for us. I wish we did because I want to go get video footage and photographs to use for reference photos of the snow because out on the trail by me would be so pretty if I could handle the cold long enough to go out and take photos. But it hasn't snowed at all this year. I'm very disappointed. My friend is making it up to me because she's in Virginia and taking drone footage. They're using their drone to take footage and photos for me. Okay, see here? See how it's starting to get chunky? That's when I know on this palette I can solve that problem quickly by just removing that. Look how wonderful this. I love this so much. Seriously, I should buy stock in this palette because I plan to encourage everyone to get them because it's wonderful. Okay, so let's go back. I'm kind of like having this here too because I can wipe my brush on it. This is turning out to be more convenient than I would have expected. Actually, no, that's not the color I want. I want to go back to black and violet. And this color is deep violet. The black I'm using is Mars black, so it's really opaque. Mara Black said, what were you talking about where small YouTube artists are being demonetized in my post? Okay, so here's the deal. And I have a video. You can go watch that video. But it's kind of cracking. I shouldn't be laughing. It's not funny. I mean, it is funny. Okay, watching people have a meltdown over something that's a non-issue, a little bit funny. That makes me a jerk. Anyway, just because I know they're not hurt, it's not going to hurt them. What YouTube is doing, they're having a problem with videos being demonetized because, well, YouTube is the one demonetizing, but they're having a problem with YouTube or video advertisers leaving. Like big companies, I think Verizon was one, AT&T, a lot of companies were leaving because they were finding their videos on stuff like, I think PewDiePie did an outrageous one where it was super racist, and he's like, well, it was a joke, and other people were like, you don't joke about that, that's not funny. There was this controversy, and he was just one of many, he wasn't the only one, but I didn't see it, I don't watch the content, so I'm not going to give you my opinion on the situation, but that's kind of where a lot of this stemmed from, with these videos that are like really racist, or videos that are just bad, like the kids eating the Tide Pod things right now, the soap for views. Or we had another famous YouTuber, Logan Paul, who's a freaking idiot. I don't know why anyone watches something like that. Watch a guy be obnoxious. That's great for kids to be watching. But anyway, so he made a video he went into the suicide forest in Japan and took a video of a dead body he found there. On his thumbnail, everything. And so advertisers are seeing stuff like this and they're like, no, we don't want our ads played. Now, the thing that YouTube is doing does not fix those situations in any way, shape, or form, because those people still had their videos monetized, and YouTube actually promoted the Logan Paul one. And then when people complained about it, they removed it, but that was kind of insane. So one of the things that happens, you get people who will do like the Tide Pod challenge where they're eating soap, and that video goes viral or gets a lot of views and they're making money off of it. Or people go and like download or upload a Judge Judy video that gets a lot of views and they've monetized it, but they legally shouldn't have ever been able to. Their channel doesn't have subscribers. They don't have a real channel. Those videos get pulled down right away. But they never should have had advertisers on it because they were violating that they didn't have the rights to that content. So that's another situation. There are many situations of what they're trying to do here. So what YouTube has done is in keeping videos from being able to be monetized. So like the case with the Judge Judy ones, most of those channels don't meet the criteria. They no longer can monetize. Now they don't have incentive to upload video that they don't have rights to because they're not going to make money from it. Why would they do it? So some people still will, but I mean, it helps with some of the problem, not all of the problem. Like I said, YouTube has a lot of problems. This is putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone, but it is one step in the right direction. So what people are freaking out about is that they are taking video or YouTubers, small channels. If you have less than 1,000 subscribers or less than 4,000 views 4,000 minutes watched in the last year, your video will be demonetized until you hit that criteria, because that kind of gets rid of the Judge Judy, the people who are uploading Judge Judy. Those people no longer can monetize. What it's doing though, the smaller channels are upset because they're going to lose a few dollars a month they might have been earning. Now, mind you, with YouTube, you can't cash out what you earn. This actually looks terrible. I need to break some of that up. You can't cash out what you earn on YouTube until you make like $100 or $50. I forget what it is. So it's not like this is getting into their personal, like their finances. This is like $10 a month that they were used to paying because that $10 a month went to a certain bill. This is not the situation because they've not been able to cash out that money since they weren't making that much at this point anyway. So there's fear-mongering going on though, making it sound, I can't tell this story and paint at the same time. We're gonna stop this for a second. The fear-mongering is telling people, like there's articles being published all over the place and they're trying to tell people how if they're demonetizing, it's going to make it so that smaller channels can't grow. They can. They can grow. This doesn't affect you. If you are a smaller channel, if you don't fit that criteria of 1,000 subscribers, 400 or 4,000 minutes watched, hours watched, God, I'm not going to get that right. You shouldn't be monetizing your video. If you honestly are trying to build a channel, you're trying to get it to grow, don't put ads on that. That's not worth irritating people for you to make $2. It's too hard to get the views when you're small. Your channel is smaller. And somebody commented that it sounded like I was being condescending. Well, maybe I was, because I'm kind of laughing at the fact that people are freaking out over this. It's not worth being that upset about. I mean, one person was talking about I'm so angry, I can't even stand it. You're letting yourself, like, that anger is not healthy. And especially in this case, this isn't hurting you at all. Not at all. This is not hurting you. You're $2 a month. Go cut some coupons. Like literally, you will make more cutting coupons than you would off YouTube ad revenue. What you should be focusing on if you really want to grow your YouTube channel is don't put ads on it until it's worth where you're getting enough views that it's actually worth irritating a few people in order to make a living. You know, you want to wait until, that sounds shady, but you want to wait until your channel's a bit bigger anyway. And people are upset because they feel like YouTube's taking something away from them, but really what YouTube is doing, or at least what they're saying, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but as far as this goes, what they're doing is making YouTube more advertiser friendly. And that is good for all of us, because if advertisers pull out, it affects every one of us. So Logan Paul doing something so shady like what he did, and advertisers going, nope, we are not even going there. That affects me, and it affects everybody else. So anything that they do, now this situation doesn't fix his idiocy, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on, why people are getting so angry. And I have that video that talks a bit more about it. But people are really upset because the media and all of these outlets are making it sound like it's such a big deal and YouTube's killing small channels. They are not. They're actually helping you, because you're going to grow faster if you don't bug people with advertisements on your videos when your channel is smaller. When you've got a small channel, I mean, think about when you search for a video. Like, let's go back to the camera stuff. I'm searching for tips on GoPro. I open a video and it immediately goes to an ad. When I look at how many views this video has, let's say it has 90 views. I am not going to sit through an advertisement on a video that has hardly any subscribers, hardly any views. I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to go ahead and assume your video isn't really worth it. That may not be the case. That video may be the best GoPro video out there, but I'm not going to find out because I'm not sitting through a advertisement knowing more likely than not this person is new to YouTube. They're not very good at making videos. It is not worth me sitting through an ad at this point. I'm going to go find I'll sit through an ad, but it's going to be on a channel that has more views, that video got more traction, because that video is probably produced better. It's probably better content. And so that's what you need to think about yourself with your own small channels, instead of, oh my gosh, they're hurting me. No, they're helping you. You should not be putting advertising if you want to grow. So that guy, that GoPro video, he may have been the best. I won't find out because I didn't want to sit through a video, because I didn't trust someone with that low of numbers had a video worth sitting through an advertisement for. So, and I'm not alone in this. And if you think I am, you are delusional. And I know I'll have people argue and go, oh my gosh, you're looking at it wrong. And so that's not how it is. Yes, it is how it is. A lot of people right now, for some reason, don't want to see reality in this. And I'm seeing a lot of anger in certain groups. And I'm just like, why are you getting mad? I mean, I get the one argument that I do well, actually two arguments I understand. One person had commented that they were worried because if your videos aren't monetized, you don't have certain features on YouTube, like being able to add links, being able to do certain things. YouTube's not doing that. They're fixing it so that you can still do that even if your video isn't monetized. So that argument I definitely understand, but they've already addressed it. Not going to be a problem. So that doesn't then come into play. The other, oh, my back is angry at me. The other argument that I understand, one person worded it really well. She said, you know, the thing that gets frustrating, and I understand that this doesn't really affect me, but I'm not going to word this wrong, but this was the gist of it. But when you set your goals, you know, you have this goal, I'm going to hit that goal, and then YouTube's like, no, raise the bar, and it's discouraging. So that I can understand being a bit discouraging, but it doesn't actually affect you. It doesn't actually affect you. Actually, it will probably help people's growth rate, not having advertisements on channels they're trying to grow when they're younger or little. Anyway, that's enough with that. I'll stop rambling about that. How do you get in touch with YouTube? I don't know. Google how to get in touch with YouTube? I have no idea. I don't have to get in touch with them because I have a network manager and my network contacts them for me. They work as like a middleman. Life is great is you got a paint scraper. Oh, if you've got a paint scraper. Yes, it is. Jacqueline says, funny you should bring up being injured or unwell. I broke my foot yesterday. Oh no! When I woke up, I thought, nope, I'm going to watch Lisa before I paint. I'm sorry you broke your foot. That's no fun. Let's see. Jacqueline, do I have a video on how to do a background forest in colored pencil? I have kind of blurry backgrounds for different, like if you look at my black leopard, that was kind of a blurry background of a forest or a jungle. I have the Pro Color with the other leopard. So some of those, I have a tiger in colored pencil. He's kind of got a forest behind him, and they're all out of focus. Focus. I can't talk. Leela says it's first world problems. It's so true with the YouTube thing. Mara wants to report YouTube to report a scam. Yeah, do that. There is a scam. They need to be notified. Kayla said, would you consider doing a going art supply shopping with me vlog type video? You know, I could, but I usually shop online, so it would be like, let's go shop at dickblick.com video. That actually would be fun, though. We should do a live stream like that one day when I have to place a decent size order. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. We could decide what I should buy. Inside a store, I could. I don't usually buy that much inside, like Michael's, or actually I did buy a bunch of stuff at Michael's not that long ago. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Now that I'm playing more with the GoPro, it might be worth me bringing around with me. Heather wants to know how I deal with sitting so long and my back pain. Right now, not well. It's angry, but we've only got 13 more minutes. Normally I get up and move around a lot more and then I'm okay. But today, sitting still and I'm like hunched over this little ugly area. Wow, that looks terrible. This will look good. Just wait for it. I'll post pictures once I get the whole background done. I'll post it over on Facebook and Instagram. Let's see. Does YouTube belong to Google? Yeah, same company. And just to be clear, I don't like half the decisions YouTube makes. I mean, I'm not like YouTube's perfect, I would never criticize them type by any means. I have plenty to criticize them for. This just isn't one of them. It's really, which is funny because I'm like, I'm the person who's usually complaining about stuff, and this is so a non-issue. And I'm not saying that because it doesn't affect me. It does affect me because I want you guys who want to make videos, I want to encourage you to do so. It's something I love doing, and so I know a lot of people would, and I don't want people to, I'm making a mess, that's kind of wet. I don't want people to give up because of this freak out that everyone's having. I mean, I see the way people are posting things and how angry they are, and then they get everyone else worked up. Now everyone's angry, and it's like, just stop. Please stop. I mean, I get that you've got anger issues. Please stop trying to hand them off to everybody else. I'm going to make people mad saying that. Turns out, if you speak realistically, you anger people. It's just how it goes. And I'm not saying either that there's never an argument for why this wasn't the best move. I just don't think it's a bad one either. Okay, that looks better. Now see, that area looked terrible. And just by taking color and going in the opposite direction, I've suddenly built this other texture in there that looks so much better. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do this over this too. I don't want to overdo it. Now, this is something that you want to watch. It's so easy. You'll do something like that and go, oh my gosh, that looks great. And then do it everywhere and realize, wow, that was way too much. So sometimes less is more. Just do a little. And what happened to the octopus painting on the wood grain? I mean, it's the wood grain for the octopus painting. What did you think I was painting? I should be a psychologist. Actually, that was something that I went to college for all of, I don't know, 2 weeks. And realized, no, I don't like this. But actually, it's probably longer than that. But psychology was one of the things I initially was interested in before I decided I wanted to be an artist. It's always fascinated me to understand why people do certain things or why they react to certain situations the way that they do. It's something I've always really watched. For me, I found it to be interesting because I have a lot of family members who are mentally ill. And it's interesting to me to see, like, okay, what causes this reaction? How do you avoid setting them off in this case? Because, I mean, with mental illness or with, well, I don't want to be around my schizophrenic dad because he's also an alcoholic and a drug addict and all kinds of, he's a whole mess. He was self-medicating. So I don't have the anger towards him that a lot of people might. But I also am interested in the whys, like I don't know. All of that has always interested me. So I've always kind of watched the cause and effect of how people respond to different things. And I can usually, at this point, predict what will set, or, how people are, in many cases, thinking in certain scenarios, I guess. Turns out, when you grow up with a schizophrenic, you learn a lot about social behavior, or human behavior with different things. See, Kelly said she thinks she knows who I'm referring to. Had to unsubscribe because I felt like I was in high school. I don't know what you're talking about now. Do you mean the acrylic water painting one? I'm not sure. Oh, and Pal said it struck me as a seascape. That is too funny. No, it is definitely not. This is the wood grain I'm just starting to work on. Although, oh, it does. When I look at the video, I see what you're seeing now. It totally looks like a seascape. Wow. That doesn't look the same as what I'm seeing in person right now. That is so funny. It's one of the first times I actually see what you guys are seeing. Let's see. Yeah, I just wish they would stop putting 30-minute ads on 10-minute videos. Yes, that drives me crazy too with the advertisements. Now, the advertisements, YouTubers, the creators do have some control. I don't want that color. Have some control over what advertisements are done and how long. Like before, they used to kind of default to more like I have to go through and manually tell them. And some of my older ones may still have the longer videos, but for years now, I've turned them off unless I missed one. If I ever miss one and you've got a video you can't skip after 5 seconds, let me know. I'm not cool with that myself. So it's possible for me to miss that. But as YouTubers, we can control how that is. And one of the things, too, that I'm seeing a lot of people do, which is kind of, I'm not in love with, you're able to now put, like, if it's a 30-minute video, you can put, like, 10 different ads in that video and space them out. And I put one ad in everything. I don't want a whole bunch of ads. That's beyond annoying. I'm cool with one that you can skip after 5 seconds. That's the extent of what I'm okay with on advertisements on my own content. You make more. And actually, YouTube sent out an email to us a while back encouraging us to change. Was it YouTube or was it my YouTube network? I forget which one. One of them sent out a thing encouraging us I think it was YouTube, if we changed our ad settings to where we allowed longer format videos, the ones that could be a minute long or longer without being skippable, if we changed it to that, we'd make more money. Not really, considering people wouldn't watch the video at all at that point. They would just click off. That's the stupidest, like, no. We wouldn't make more money. We would lose money in the long, like you're just thinking, and that's the problem that people are having even with this YouTube drama. People look at the short term. If you want to be successful in anything, do not look at the short term. Right now, it doesn't really matter so much. Tomorrow, a month, 2 years, 3 years, that's what matters. So when you look at these channels and they're like, oh, right now I'm not getting ad revenue. No, but you'd be better off, you'd grow faster if you didn't put ads on it anyway. Or in this case with YouTube saying, oh, if you put longer videos, you put more, or you put longer advertisements, or you put more advertisements in your video, you could make more money. It sounds like that right now, but long term, I'm going to lose money because no one's going to watch it. They're just going to click off the video. That doesn't make me anything. So it just kind of, and also my video that my channel doesn't grow, and I was just kind of like, what? That is, you're encouraging people to look at the right now. You're going to grow more. You're going to get further in life if you look at the long term, not what's fun to do right now. I wish as a teenager I knew that and didn't have I want to go hang out with my friends because that's what's fun right now. I wish I would have spent more time practicing violin. Like if I could go back and change something, that would probably be it, because that would be more useful to me than going over to a friend's house and watching TV. Like I don't even think we were bonding because we were just watching TV, just sitting there and like, oh, I'm here. So, I mean, if we went and did something, that's one thing, but we weren't even doing that. So yeah, look at the long-term goals, how that is going to affect you more than the right now. Because sometimes right now seems like a good idea, but when you think of, well, how is this going to affect me in the future? Is this going to benefit me? That's what you want to look at. Yeah, just building texture, just little brush strokes, most of which need to stay horizontal, but I'm just slowly building that texture. Oh, Kelly Payne said the YouTube monetization debacle of certain YouTubers freaking out. Did a lot of them freak out? I haven't seen many YouTube. What I've seen are in art groups, people who have smaller channels, because I actually don't follow a lot of people who have smaller channels just because I don't actually watch a lot of videos. I'm not going to lie. I have a few that I'm like obsessively watch, like, and even Tim Schmoyer's video creators. I haven't even watched his lately. I have to go back and binge watch his. But I don't actually watch a lot myself. I've seen some of the things people have said online in groups or like Reddit and that where they've been freaking out. More than anything. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot of people misunderstand too is they're thinking that they're not going to grow as fast because their video's not monetized. And I've looked at some of the videos like Reddit. Some people had posted stuff. You look at their channels because you can look up if they linked it or whatever, and you look at their channel and I'm looking at it, they're going, your growth rate issue isn't because of YouTube. Your growth rate issue is because you're not putting much effort into your content. You're not making videos that many people are going to be interested in besides maybe your mom. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, if you enjoy doing it, then go for it. But if your whole thing, you're so worried about money, then I'm assuming you want to make it as a YouTuber. And in which case you need to reevaluate how you're making videos. No, they're not well put together. They're not, and I don't mean like, oh, you don't have the most expensive video equipment, so it's not put together. No, I mean your content is not presented in a way that's remotely interesting to people. I'm not saying I'm a master at it. I'm just saying a lot of those channels on Reddit that I was looking at, or the comments, when they would link their channels, I'm like, just out of my own morbid curiosity, I'm like, okay, what's your YouTube look like? Well, it's not because of the demonetization that you're not going to grow. You're not going to grow because you're wanting to sit and complain instead of getting off your rear and going and getting work done. Ooh, let's put a little knot there in the wood. That'll look cool. I want to get a few, like, going in different directions across things. A couple of cracks in here. A few more knots now, and we'll work with the shading on those. A couple bigger art YouTubers on Twitter. Yeah, I've seen a few that had bigger channels that were complaining about it too. Like they were trying to stand out up for their fans that have smaller channels. But I'm just like, I just don't see that as being, no. Like I guess for me, it's easy for me to say you don't need that money at this stage because I didn't monetize my videos at that stage. I actually did when I had like 100 or 200. I forget how many, small amount of subscribers. I tried monetizing it and quickly realized when I would have to look up my own videos because I wanted to link to somebody, I would click on it and the ad would come up. I'm like, wow, this is super annoying for a video that is only going to be like 2 minutes long because my videos were really short back then. To have an ad, I wouldn't have sat through this. So I finally was like, nope, we're just going to pull these ads off. That is not beneficial. Yeah, Jacqueline says everyone has a right to an opinion. Absolutely agree. Good thing we have that freedom. We have the choice and then to not listen. In Australia, we say angry people, just suck it up, princess. Yeah, we say that sometimes here too. I've seen JPC13 Art said they've seen bigger YouTubers really mad on Twitter about this. They're saying for people to tweet them their channels so they can get subs and views. I'm seeing that too, and what we're going to have happen, and this is hilarious, they're essentially creating, and I've seen this in some of the art groups on Facebook, they're creating a follow for follow scenario. So follow for follow, you guys have seen me talk about before, doesn't help. Does not help you grow. Yes, your numbers, you suddenly look like you have more subscribers. Most of those people are not going to watch your videos. You might have a few people that decide to watch it after that, but more often than not, when you get into a follow for follow type situation where they're just like, follow me for the sake of following me because I'm upset at YouTube, they're not going to actually go back and watch your videos. They're just being nice. They're hitting the like button or the follow button. It's not benefiting the channel. Again, you have to think long term. You can't look at the right now. Right now, yeah, it looks cool. Look, I gained all these subscribers. Long term, those subscribers aren't watching your content. It doesn't help you at all. So yeah, again, with that whole thing. Lady Marigold also thought it was a seascape. That's so funny. And it's so funny because I can totally see it when I look at like on the camera over here. Like, wow, you are right. It does. That would kind of be, I want to do a brown seascape now with like mostly browns and maybe some tints of another color. Oh, this is giving me ideas. See, okay. So this is one of the things that I talk about a lot about how you can paint one thing. Like sometimes you'll think, I'm going to put my brush down. I'm pretty much done for the night. You can paint one thing and it may not seem like the most creative idea. Actually, I'm excited about this one. I think this one's pretty creative. But let's say I was just going to paint this wood grain and throw some grapes on it. Okay, that's not super original. That's not super, it could be pretty. I'm not saying there's not value in doing that, but it's not like that thing that I'm excited about this idea. This is something totally unique. You paint it anyway. If you don't have any ideas, just paint what you have. And now you can come back. Like in this case, you're looking at that going, oh, that looks like a seascape. I didn't even think of that till now. And now that you said seascape, I'm looking at that going, I'd really kind of like to do a seascape like this, like low water, big, huge sky. That is so going to happen. And it happened because I painted something that has nothing to do with it. You paint one thing and it'll give you an idea for something in the future. So even if that one thing you're painting right now, you're like, it's not that creative, I'm not that thrilled about it, that doesn't mean it's not going to lead to one of your best ideas ever. So always paint, just keep practicing. I'm glad you pointed out, because I thought when you said that, oh, where is your name? It was a letter and then the word and pal. When you first said that, I was like, what are they looking at? Are they even watching this video? Like, what? And now that when you said it, that when I looked at that, man, you were so right. It totally looks like water. How funny. Let's see. Steve Smith. I'll answer a couple more questions before we cut this off for the night. I'm going to have some coffee. My coffee's cold. Luckily, I like warm and cold coffee, so I'm okay with that. Is that gross to people? My husband thinks it's gross that I'll drink coffee that's been sitting out for 2 hours. I like it. Let's see. Steve said, YouTube is okay, but I find as a student learning from you and others, there's far more value to me spending the low cost to join Patreon or whatever artist one feels to follow. Yeah, Patreon's amazing, and there's so many great artists on Patreon. Like, even if you're not like following me on Patreon, there are so many, like Sheldine, Unmasked Art, Jason Morgan. Oh my gosh, his pastel tutorials. There are a lot of good Patrons that you can follow. Yeah, Joseph Fincham says, the wood grain is the painting, the seascape is the happy little accident. I know, I'm actually excited. I'm trying to think, I may do like a quick in-between painting, like an easy beginner type painting of just a little bit of water, kind of like this, maybe not that small, maybe a little bit bigger, and then like big clouds. I think that would be pretty. I've got enough canvases here. What shape should I do this on? Oh, I could do it on one of my tall, skinny canvases. They don't film well for YouTube because it's a bad shape, but that might be really cool to have just a little bit of water and all those. Yeah, that is so happening. So that may happen soon in between finishing this one because it was something that would only take me a couple of hours to paint. So I'll probably do that. Gail said, no, I drink cold coffee. Hey, people, buy iced coffee. Yeah, my husband just recently realized he likes cold coffee. He thought it was gross before when I drink it, and now he got one at, like, the grocery store that came in a, like a little bottle, a jar. I don't know what the brand was, but he really, really liked it, and so now he's kind of obsessed with cold coffee. He doesn't really like coffee at all. He never has. He's trying to force himself to like it because he thinks he should, even though he doesn't. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, M. Pal said, in a really moody sky. Exactly, like dark, like gray clouds, and then maybe like the aqua water, so you've got that high contrast between no color, or, just grayscale, and oh, I'm excited to paint that now. I'm almost tempted to get that done now, because this I don't think is gonna, my plan was to finish most of the wood grain over the next few days, and then that would be next week's Patreon video, would be, because YouTube is gonna wait until everything's done, but I would do Patreon in sections, like here's just the octopus one week, just the bowl the next week. But on this one with the wood grain, I don't know how far I'm gonna get, but I may tomorrow night paint the, not huge, maybe like a 12 by 24 inch, paint the really moody sky like you said, and like aqua water at the below, keep it really loose, almost kind of impressionistic, so it's not like super detailed, because again, it will only take an hour or so, and then that could be Patreon's video, which is a super like great for beginners with acrylic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen probably tomorrow. I love you guys for giving me that idea. Let's see. Vinette says, please show how texture white can be used. Haven't seen you use it. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by texture white. Do you mean like touch-up texture and titanium white that I do for colored pencil? But I don't use, I mean, that's not something I would use for acrylic. I would just use white acrylic paint. Jesse said, my draft painting is so cool. I can see it right behind you. Thank you. That's one of my personal paintings that I haven't been able to bring myself to list as for sale. I recently did list a bunch of stuff for sale. I may have put that on my website, but I've kept it for years because it's one of my absolute favorites. And the funny thing is, like technique-wise, skill-wise, it's not that it's the best I've ever done. I keep looking at stop looking at the microphone. But it's, I don't know, there's just something about it that makes me happy, the design. So it's been in my personal collection. That one in the flamingo with the bees on the round canvas, I just hit myself on the nose. That's in my personal collection too. I don't see myself giving that up anytime soon. Let's see, assemble this. Thanks for your videos. You have taught me a lot. Still getting materials. Not made a single drawing or painting, but I can't wait. Get to it. You can, like, I mean, when you're getting started with art, if you don't have a lot of supplies, because trust me, I grew up broke. Like, we did not have a lot of money. I did not come from a wealthy family by any means. I mostly used pencils or crayons or pastels and like cheap Crayola watercolor, that sort of thing. But I would get, with graphite. Graphite is so cheap. You can get the best, like my favorite graphite pencils, either the Derwent, the new Derwent Graphics or Faber-Castell 9000 series. You can get the best for like under $20. So you don't have to spend a lot. Just get a piece of scratch paper and start drawing. You can start practicing right now, even if you don't have all the supplies you're going to want. I mean, when I started with graphite, I would get pieces of toilet paper and use that to blend. Wow, that's classy. But that's what I had available to me. I mean, you don't have to wait until you have the most expensive, the best, all the stuff you really want. You don't have to wait to get started in art until you get them. Start drawing now. You can do that with graphite. Marilyn also said it looked like a seascape. Yep, you guys are right. Now I've got to paint a seascape. It's all your fault, which means Patreon's getting adjusted for what's going up next week. Okay, Gail is leaving. Bye, Gail. Thanks for joining. Molly said, I have a pad of Strathmore tone tan paper, which I use to practice freehanding. It works well for graphite. Oh, good to know. A lot of paper that I don't like for colored pencil, I love for graphite. So that's good. Like the Strathmore, it was Strathmore, right? They made their colored pencil paper. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. Like absolutely horrible. So with them, I use that for graphite. It's fine for graphite. It just does not work well for colored pencil. Vladimir said, was there a breaking even point in your artwork where you started liking your own artwork? So here's the thing. I liked my artwork from the beginning. Looking back, I don't know why I liked it, but I was always proud of what I accomplished because I knew why would I didn't spend a lot of time studying. I spent a lot of time practicing, but it's not like I took classes or anything where I don't know. I've just always been proud of what I did. Even when it was absolutely terrible, I was always running in and getting my parents like, come see what I painted, come see what I painted. So it's never, I guess I can stop this from recording. It's never been something that I like hit a point where suddenly I liked it, but I hit points, like I can tell you at points where I made a huge jump in my work where I'm like, wow, this is way better than what it was last week. I mean, I was happy with last week's work, but it just got way better. So I've always been pretty proud of myself, but also realistic in that I could look at something and go, wasn't my best work. I had fun. I'm still proud I created something because I made something that didn't previously exist. May not be the best thing I've ever made, may not be the best thing I will ever make, but it's something that didn't previously exist. I had fun doing it. It's still kind of pretty. I'm good with it. So for me, it's a little bit different because I've always been, almost want to say full of myself, but that's not it either because it wasn't like a prideful, I'm amazing thing. I've never felt like that, but I've always felt content, I guess is a better way to say it, with what I made, happy or proud of, like, this is cool. Okay, someone's walking. That's not my husband coming home, is it? Because I have to go unlock the door if it is. Nope, it's too, nope. I just saw someone outside the door. I thought, I'm going to get up, but no, he's not here yet. Okay. Texture in white acrylic, I think it's used for making the thick flowers or the kind that pop. Oh, I don't use texture really in my work. With acrylics, it is rare that I will put any texture in my, I don't like texture in my work. So I actually have a bottle of it here, but Liquitex sent me and it's good. It's not something that I try to accomplish. So no, you probably won't see me do that much. Do I like silicone color shapers? I don't know what that is. Via said, I'm so glad you're feeling well again and here to inspire and educate everyone. Love your work and attitude and your straight talk. Thank you. I'm glad to feel better too because that was a crappy half of a year. Caitlin Inspires said, funny, I didn't like the Strathmore colored pencil paper either. I did a flamingo on it and I was so anxious for it to be done. It was not a favorite of mine. Well, I'm a paper hater tonight. You know, it's funny, that project I did, I had someone recently leave a comment on it because I did it years ago, or a couple of years ago. The paper's been out for a while. And I did a tiger. You know what? The tiger, I love how the piece came out. I liked the design of the piece, but I never got my color saturation quite where I wanted. There were things that I think I could have really improved on if I was using better paper. And somebody commented on how, well, clearly, or something about how it was the best piece I've done. And so obviously, I don't know, something about me being biased, or maybe I should use that paper more often because it looks better than all my other work. But they said it in a way that was like really rude. It wasn't like an encouraging, wow, this looks great. Maybe you do more on it. I really like how it wasn't like that. It was like super negative the way it was worded. I was like, well, okay then. Why don't you work on this paper? I don't like it. And I think it would look better on different paper. I mean, I was happy with the end result with what I made off of it, but I struggled so much working on that paper that I wouldn't do it again. Let's see, do I know what paint to use to paint on walls? So when I paint on walls, assuming it's inside, I will do a base of a flat or satin finish, usually a satin. wall color, like just get a base color, and then I just use my Liquitex Basics on top of that. That's what I've done for indoor murals that have, 20 years later still look just like they did the day I painted them. So that's what I've always done there. And I use the regular house paint just because that's a lot of surface, and I am not using Liquitex Basics to cover that much area. But that always worked really well for me. Melissa said to check out Mural Joe. He uses latex and he has tips and tricks on how to use that. So go look up Mural Joe. I'm assuming here on YouTube. So, okay, we are 10:11. I guess I should wrap this up, but I still have coffee. I feel like I should sit here and keep talking. Let's see. Valerie said Mural Joe uses those paints for everything, not just walls. Yeah, and I've done that on other things too. I did the background murals or was one of the artists that did the background murals for the 2000 LA County Fair. Backgrounds for stuff like we had to paint forests for the background that was going to have birds in front of it, and different things that would have in front of, or the backgrounds for like where they would end up putting dinosaur sculptures in front. And we did like an underwater one. We did a bunch of them. We just used house paint for all of that, and it worked fine. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry your back hurts too, Pamela. It's no fun. I need to go walk. That'll make it feel better. Although it's freezing outside, so I'm not walking far. So much for that idea. That was apparent. Yeah, that's not happening. Let's see. Yeah, more recommendations for Mural Joe. I'm gonna have to go look up his stuff. That sounds, now you guys are talking about it, I'm interested. Let's see. Okay, well, not a bunch of questions coming in, so we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining with me tonight and watching me drink coffee, because it's pretty much what I did most of the time, and rant about people overreacting to stuff. But thanks for joining me, and I will definitely, this will probably be done this week. Not the whole painting, just the background. So I don't know for next week's live stream what we're going to be doing. We may be starting the octopus. It just depends on how far I get, because I keep thinking I'm going to accomplish a lot, and then I'm like, oh, I want to play with video editing software because it's updated now, and I want to do that instead, and I keep getting distracted. It's all art related things, so I mean, it's good. It's just not what I'm supposed to be working on, so I've been so bad about getting stuff done. Like you guys over on Patreon know I keep finding old stuff that either doesn't have a voiceover, or I'll find old footage from videos from like 2013 or some 2014 and realize, hey, I can make a whole new video for you guys, a tutorial out of this. The one that's going up tomorrow, I'm excited about. It's the candles with the butterflies on the wood grain. That one's kind of fun because it's going to, I'm pointing out some of the things I would change in that if I were to do it again, or mistakes I made, like looking back when you guys paint that, things that you could do differently. So that will be fun. And Pal says they'll keep company with me while I drink. Thank you. And by drink, I mean coffee. I'm not like the vodka I need to use to get the paint out of my pants. I'm not drinking that right now. Where did I get that coffee mug? Need it for late night. This is the best coffee mug ever. It says coffee then adulting. My husband got it for me, I think for our anniversary. It was one of my gifts. It holds 2 cups of coffee. It is gigantic. And so what I do, because I can't handle that much caffeine, I have adrenal gland issues, which you can probably tell with how fast I talk. My adrenaline is always like super high speed, but also really like coffee. But anyway, I do 1 cup of decaf, and then 1 cup of regular is the way that I can have, that way I can have more coffee, because I just like drinking it. But it's from Target. Wow, I could have just said it was from Target and skipped like a 5-minute intro, huh? See, this is why I heavily edit my videos, because I do this. I go off on tangents, and you're just like, please, would you just tell me where? Target, and they still have them. If you're watching this when this video goes live, I know they're still there. I saw them the other day. And it wasn't very expensive. I don't remember how much it was. I just remember going, oh, that's a good price. I would definitely buy that cup again. Have I read 6 of Crows? I don't think so. Which one is that about? I don't think that I did. I know the name sounds familiar, which means I must have looked it up. Which one is that about? Update me. Let's see. Marilyn said, I used to do murals with joint compound to make mountains. That would be cool. I've seen where people did that, where they made this like 3D wall sculpture. I did something kind of like that. Back when we lived in California, my mother-in-law's house, she wanted these flowers painted above her window or her door. And then I thought that was boring. So I got creative. Or was it grapes? Grapes and flowers? I don't remember. So I had this book that talked about like little DIY type crafts you could do. So you take fake flowers or grapes and like cut them in half, you glue them to the wall, and then you take this paste, this modeling paste or something like that, and put it over it, and you got this 3D, and then you would take paint and just kind of barely tint some of it. Most of it had to be wall color, but you would just put a little bit of tint over some of the parts that were sticking out of the wall. It was so pretty. I wish that was before digital cameras were really popular or worked well, or at least the ones I could afford at that rate. So I don't have any photos of it, but it was so, so pretty. I definitely someday when I have a house, I'm going to do something like that for me. Like you could do it with seashells, where you would glue the seashells to the wall, paint it, put a primer over it, paint it the color of the wall so it blends in, and then you just tint the edges, like dry brush. See, there's a case where dry brushing is good. You dry brush a little bit of like a stencil stain type thing. It wasn't normal paint that I used. It would be so pretty. I'm definitely doing that. I will make a video for you guys when I someday can afford to buy a house. We've got a ways to go. Assemble This said, if you love coffee roast and grind your own, 10 times better than store-bought. Made a video on my channel, cheap to do as well. Oh, I need to look at that. Okay, so here's my thing. I'm weird with what I eat and drink. It doesn't matter to me that much as long as I have it. Like, okay, let's guacamole for an example. I love guacamole. My ingredients for guacamole are avocado, salt, and onion. That's it. I just mix it all together. Like people are putting lemon and lime and they're putting cilantro and tomatoes, and I've done that and it tastes good. But I don't like it so much that I care enough to put the effort in, if that makes sense. And I'm the same with coffee. I've just been drinking my Keurig K-Cups, and I know they're not as good as good coffee. Like, there's a restaurant that we go to sometimes. Well, I haven't been there since I got sick, but that we used to go to every week. And I would get their espresso. Oh, my God, was theirs good. But at the same time, I'm like, as much as I enjoy this, I don't enjoy it enough I'm adding syllables there, enjoy it enough to make the effort into making my own. I'm so lazy. That's the problem. I'm very lazy. I'm like, oh, that's really good. I'm too lazy to do it. Although I was watching a video, actually, Peter McKinnon, the photographer I was telling you about, he had a video of a coffee machine or espresso machine he put together, and it was like, oh, that looks amazing. That looks really tasty. But honestly, probably don't have the patience to do it. Vladimir said, when I was like 7, I wet toilet paper and smashed it against the bathroom wall to make mountains. My parents were very pleased. You know what I used to do when I was little? My mom still likes to remind me of this. I would like color on the walls or draw, whatever. I would do anything like that I wasn't supposed to. Color in books, like not coloring books, but just a book that I wasn't supposed to be drawing in. And my mom would get mad at me, and I would always blame the dog. We had a dog, I think his name was Dexter, something like that. We had a boxer. I would always blame the dog and try to convince her that I was like 3 or 4. Always would try to convince her the dog did it. I didn't draw on the wall. The dog did it. She didn't buy it. Let's see. Always fresh ground, Joseph says. Anything less is uncivilized. I know you're probably right. I actually never had a coffee maker or a coffee machine, and my mom always, it drove her crazy because my mom's a coffee drinker. And I love coffee, but I can't handle very much caffeine. I've since learned 2 cups max, 1 in the morning, 1 at night is all I can do, or I get sick. But my mom will drink all day long. She drinks a lot of coffee. And I always felt guilty that I didn't have coffee for her when she came to my house. I was so excited when I got the Keurig because now she can always have coffee. And I know it's not, she grinds her own too. I know it's not supposed to be as good, but I don't know. I still like it. I'm terrible. I'm that way with food. Like I make salads. That's what I'll have for dinner tonight. And my idea, what I'm going to include in the salad is the lettuce or it's spinach. And I think there might be kale. I don't know. I'm going to throw some grape tomatoes over it and dressing, done. Like, I'm not even going to chop up an onion. I'm so lazy. I'm like, the minimum I need is what I'm going to do right now because I am just, I'm lazy. Mr. Woofy loves tea. I do too. Tea was my main thing that I drank, green tea especially. I drink so much of that. But right now I'm upset. What happened, actually, the reason that I ended up with Keurig and the reason I ended up with the coffee, was it last year or the year before? I forget. I know the year before, actually several years before. Every winter I would drink so much Starbucks. I would gain like 10 pounds. Like it was getting ridiculous how much weight I was gaining from drinking Starbucks, especially in the winter. That was the main time I would drink it. And I realized, you know what? If I really want the coffee, I need to stop and just make my own and not put a ton of creamer in it. Like I put a little bit, but not tons. Actually, this one I think I put too much tonight. But that's why I decided to go ahead and get my own, because I was, yeah, it was out of control. But before that, I always drank tea. That was my only thing that I was really interested in. Yeah, Joseph says that is my second form of liquid intake. Um, Valerie said, I'm waiting to eat my pizza that I shouldn't be eating. Oh, I'm so jealous. I have been wanting pizza so bad for so long. My husband is on a candida diet. My doctor had put him on to try to help with his psoriasis, to see if that would make a difference. So he's been eating, here, I'm just going to share all my information. He's been eating like super, like he has not cheated a single time. His diet is insanely strict. Good news is he's lost 50 pounds in the last 6 months. Actually, he lost that after the first 4 months, and now he's just kind of stabilized. But he had lost so much, or he was eating so strict, and then I'm looking at myself going, wow, my pants don't fit right. Maybe I need to be eating a more strict diet. So now pizza is the one thing he's been craving, and even before I started going back to eating healthier myself now, I felt too guilty having pizza in front of him. So I've not had it since last year, like, I don't know, maybe last spring. I miss pizza so much. Like, even I get gluten-free pizza, but oh my gosh, I miss it. And Pal said, watch kale. It can cause worse health issues. Thank you for that information. I will look into. I actually don't like kale very much. I don't eat it often. It's bitter to me, and I'm not a huge fan. I like the spinach, but this one was a mixture of that or spring greens, or I don't remember what was in the one I bought yesterday. Good to know, though. Could I use a paper plate as a palette? It depends on which type of paper plate. If it's the kind that has like that waxy seal where it's kind of almost like smooth, plasticky feeling, you can do that. If it's the kind that's paper that feels like you could draw on it with a pencil, those don't work well because it absorbs the water. When you're mixing water to thin your paint, it absorbs it and doesn't blend. It just doesn't work. But if it's one, I don't have one I can easily grab. I have some here that have kind of like a waxy feel to them, a real smooth, slick feel. Those work perfectly fine as a palette. Let's see. So get my husband to roast and grind it. Once you try it, you'll never buy store-bought again. Oh, I almost don't want to try it. My Keurig machine is teal. That's reason enough for me to use it. I have issues. Yeah, I bet he'd like it. I don't know though, actually, because when he first started trying to drink coffee last year, when we went to our fancy, I call it our fancy restaurant. It's called Main Street Bakery, or Main Street, I don't know. It's like a little French bistro. It's not that fancy. It's fancy for me because, anything beyond Chipotle is fancy to me. So it's a sit-down type restaurant. So anyway, he decided he was just starting to drink coffee, and he was starting to kind of like it. He had me making it for him before he went to work, and I put it in a thermos for him to take with him. So he'd have a cup of it when he got up, and then he took the cup that I made for him with him to work. And he was liking it, and he liked the energy. He said he felt a lot better when he was doing that versus the tea. He drinks all painful, like it's insane the amount of tea he drinks. He puts me to shame. Or for what I used to drink with tea. So anyway, he decided when we went to the Main Street, or restaurant that we liked so much, he wanted to try one of their coffees because he thought it would be so good. He took one sip. He did not touch coffee again for like 7 months. He thought it was the most disgusting thing. It was longer than that. He thought it was so gross, and that was the good stuff. I mean, this coffee was good, amazingly good, and he just thought it was disgusting. So I didn't even know if he'd like good coffee. He always preferred the Starbucks, even with the K-cup, and I don't like Starbucks. They're anything that you like make at home, I've never been a fan of theirs. It has like a chemical taste to me. So I don't know if he even would like the good stuff. Wow, Marilyn said she lost 30 pounds when she stopped drinking wine. I wouldn't have thought wine would do that. I don't know much about wine, so I didn't know that would cause that big of a difference. Congratulations. That's got to feel good. Let's see. Certain health conditions should not eat kale. Good to know. I recently found out with me, I can't do stevia. Who would have thought that's supposed to be like the healthy alternative that people do? It was making me really, really sick, and I didn't figure it out for like, it was in one of my drinks for about 5 weeks or so. Oh, I was sick. I felt so much better when I cut it from my diet. Melissa, he says, yeah, she's on a paleo diet. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing at this point. Steve Smith said, be careful with your Keurig coffee machine. The reservoir that you can't clean builds up a horrible, gross slime. Yeah, I've heard about that. I run vinegar through it, and nothing changes. I mean, when I run the water, so I don't know. It's not made me sick yet, but I've heard that. I have a feeling that I'm going to be one of those people that replaces it fairly often just because I'm like, oh, I want this new color of teal. That's not wasteful at all. Yeah, I actually was reading some reports on that, and some people were basically like, no, that's not the case. If you're cleaning it properly, if you're running the cleaner through it, I run vinegar through mine. But I don't know. Other people said that what she did wasn't real. I don't know what to believe, but what I read, I decided the most convincing evidence for me was that that is not the normal way for it to do it. Foil paper plates do well for palettes as well. Foil paper plate. You mean foil on top of paper plates? Because I have definitely done that. Anything beyond it? Yeah, Chipotle's good. I love Chipotle. They have a salad there. I love their salad dressing. If you've not tried it, it is so good. But sometimes they'll ask me when I order if I want beans and rice, and it's like, that doesn't go on a salad. And sometimes they'll have people that work there that think it does, even though it doesn't. Don't get it with the beans and rice. But their salad dressing is amazing. It is so good. Mr. Webby said he's writing anything beyond Chipotle is fancy to my inspirational quotes. Let's see. Starbucks is spreading all over the place. Not a fan at all. Yeah, it's when you look at like how many calories are in a Starbucks. As much as I like it, like their raspberry latte. Oh, I love the raspberry latte. But dear God, the amount of calories in that, because you don't think about how often you drink it. So even one a week, like this is enough calories for like 4 days for me. That is because I'm not very active. I don't move a lot. Although I am. Hey, I will ask you guys this. So I'm thinking maybe I would like a scooter. Like maybe an electric one, maybe not an electric one. I thought it would be fun to use on the trail near my house. I don't know if I really want one. Do any of you guys use scooters or say, can you, like, I'm like, I don't even know if my back would get mad at me for it. It just seemed like a fun thing. I was realizing that the other day, like, do I want to save up for one? That could be fun. I don't know anything about them, though. It just was a random thought of, oh my gosh, I saw one video of someone on one. I was like, wow, that looks fun. I could do that. I don't think it would hurt my back. Anyway, if you guys know anything about it, let me know. Let's see. Yeah, Steve Smith said they haven't used anything since seeing how gross it was with that Keurig machine. I would be interested in seeing more people do that than, because I know there have been a handful, but then there have been a bunch of people who did that and were like, this didn't happen, this wasn't real or whatever. And I have to wonder how much is it to do with the water that she was putting in it, because I know that from just taking care of pests and like my crab water, like how often, or when you do water changes on certain things. My water fountain is a great example. Certain water in certain places I lived would grow this nasty, nasty stuff, and I'll live somewhere else and that never happened in that same waterfall, same type of conditions, like same amount of light and everything. So I have to wonder like if there were more elements to that. And maybe I just want to believe that because I love my Keurig so much. Also a possibility. But I did look into it because if it's that bad, then I don't, that's scary. But I'm also sensitive too. Everything makes me nauseated. Everything makes me sick. And I've not had any problems with that. So I'm guessing I'm okay. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know for sure. Nicole said, I'm having problems eating certain kinds of pork. My mom said that when I was a baby, my dad would go to Tijuana and get pork tacos, and I always got really colicky. I still have problems. Huh. I know pork is supposed to keep a lot of toxins in it from what I understand. Like it causes a bit of a hit to your immune system to where it makes people feel a little tired, a little kind of crappy. Shrimp is the same thing. Like they absorb a lot of toxins because of reasons that I don't remember. So I know that's not supposed to be one of the healthiest things. Let's see. Sharon said, check out books by medical medium Anthony Williams. He has an amazing H. Eli on healing your body with food. He has 3 books. Amazing and worth checking out. I wonder if that's the one. I don't know if it's the same one. Yeah, I'll have to look at those. I see a natural doctor who deals with nutrition and stuff like that who is amazing and has fixed so many things on me. I love him. Dr. Artis in Frisco, Texas, if you're wondering. I love him. Like, he's seriously fixed some pretty major stuff on me before. So, I do see a doctor who gives me a lot of advice on that sort of thing, too. I like books, though. Yes, Steve Smith said maybe when you get a new one to take the old one apart and see. That's a good for the Keurig. That's actually, I may do that. Vladimir said, I use a scooter and sometimes I'm slumped over. But you should try it. It's so much fun, especially on empty roads. Now, are you able to be comfortable and like keep your back up straight, Vladimir? Because like that would be like if I have to hunch over, that's going to be a problem. But if you can kind of stay upright, I think I could do it okay. That's the big thing with my back, not looking down or staying hunched over too much. would like to know that. Let's see, going through here. Just reading through some of these comments and falling asleep because I didn't take a nap. Jacqueline said reclining bikes are great for your back. The problem is I don't have anywhere to put a bike. That would be my preference. I actually want a 3-wheeled bike. I'm definitely getting one. Like, that's going to be one of my first purchases when I get a house where I have a garage to put the bike in. But I live on the 3rd floor and there's nowhere, like, I am not dragging a bike up 3 flights of stairs. A scooter's not as bad, but even once I got the bike up the stairs, I have nowhere to put it. So I have no storage here at all. I already store way too much stuff in my laundry room. My husband was just complaining the other day, asking if it was getting smaller. Like, no, I just have too much stuff in here I need to clean out. It's like my hoarding area. But I can't fit a bike. That is definitely what I want. Well, a 3-wheel bike, because I fall off real bikes. Things I shouldn't say online and let everyone know how clumsy I am. I mean, I can ride a bike, but I also tend to run into things. So, yeah, I want a bike. I want a 3-wheel bike, but it's not convenient for me yet. Let's see. Buy a Segway. Aren't those bigger too? Like, I need something that's smaller. Like, it'd be cool if I could get something that would kind of fold. Roller skates. Yeah, I have rollerblades, and I love them. But as I get older, I'm like, I'm going to break my neck on these. Like, I've been using them since I was a kid, and I'm very comfortable with them in that sense. But every once in a while, I'm just like, I'm getting old just in the fact that it's crossing my mind. I'm going to break my arm, aren't I? So I'm starting to think something that might be a little more stable might be safer for me. I don't know. Well, in the trail that we're on, the rollerblades aren't ideal. There's too many. I don't know. It wouldn't be fun for the rollerblades. I don't think. Too many sticks and stuff. People use bikes all the time. That seems to be fine. But the rollerblades, I have to go just around my building here. And I don't know. I just wanted something different. Let's see. Research water purification. It can't say what it does for you health-wise. FDA has insane rules about talking or selling it. Using it myself, 66 years old and disabled. About water. Oh, MMS water purification. How is that similar? I'm curious to, like, reverse osmosis is, I know, a really big one. That's what I used to use for my fish. Vladimir says, I've been a mastery orchestra and just taking orchestra in general, and I have a good posture. That's what I've always had to practice too. I guess practicing your posture. Look up what a trike is. It's an adult scooter. Oh, hold on. Writing this down. I'm very serious about this. Oh, so this is why I like my note. Just write it on that front screen. I don't even have to open an app. Where did it go? RIKKE. And save in notes. Okay. So look up a trike. It's an adult scooter that is made for on and off-road. It is so fun to ride. It's great for loosening up your muscles too. I have the T7. Oh, writing that down too. T7 model. Thanks for the information. I am going to look that up for sure. How much did it cost? Oh, I'll probably have to be saving for a while. This wasn't exactly in my budget. It was just like a random, hey, that would be fun in a way for me to get exercise because I do not get enough right now. And if I could do something that was fun, I don't know. Well, it seemed like fun. JPC 13 Art said he would wants somebody to send him pizza. Yeah, I want pizza too. Jacqueline says they fold. I keep my 3-wheel bike in the car. Really? I never thought of looking for a foldable bike. I'm gonna have to look into that. Let's see. Steve said, do I understand right that you live here in Texas? Yes, I do. I'm in Rockport. I don't know where that is. Harvey destroyed my home. I'm sorry. It saved all my art supplies. So that's good thinking. I'm sorry I destroyed your home. The only thing that I can think of as a benefit, like if that happened to me, I would just I mean, hopefully everyone had insurance, or most people did. I would try to make my new house, like, I would focus on, I get new floors, I get new things, and try to, I don't know. I was thinking about that, like, how would I handle if the floods came and you lose everything? I think I would try to focus on being excited about getting new stuff. My mind is weird. I always do that. Like, what would I do if this happened? What would I do if this scenario, like, what would be my next steps? And I think my main focus would be new stuff. Yay. That's awesome that you got saved your art supplies. Caitlin Inspire says they're around 400 or so. Okay, that's not terrible. Definitely, I'm going to look into that. Videos on YouTube, I will look at that. Electric scooter, possibly. I don't know if I want electric or not electric. Seriously, I know no things about them. It was the most random, I think it was yesterday when we were in Target. We were walking, I was like, oh, I want to look at scooters. Do they have those here? I don't even know where it popped in my head, I do know where it popped in my head, because I saw a video and thought, hey, that looked fun. And not a video on scooters, they were just riding scooters, and I thought that looked like fun. Moise said, do you know about the Savior's Champion? Sorry, this isn't art related, but I'm so excited for it. I do not. Let's see. Yeah, kale can cause thyroid problems is one issue. Yeah, actually, they say that about spinach too, if you eat too much spinach. But the amount, I know with spinach anyway, the amount that you would have to eat is so insane. I don't know about kale, but I know with spinach it was a lot to make a difference. And it was more of an issue for people with hypothyroid. Hypothyroid. I'm hyperthyroid. So it was actually good for me. If it slows mine down, that's a good thing. Let's see. Melissa said she has Hashimoto's and did the research. Kale thing is still controversial, still eats it. Yeah, a lot of people do. The problem is there's not enough information on this. So it's kind of like, eat it, see how you feel. I definitely learned a good lesson about the stevia because it didn't even cross my mind that something I was eating was making me that sick. I thought it was from the surgeries. I thought the last surgery I had, because with surgeries and fibromyalgia, like it tends to trigger it. Just being put under anesthetic, anything stressful for your body, it triggers all the fibromyalgia stuff. And so I thought that's what was going on. And it wasn't that. I was like, I wasn't healing fast. Things were really bad after the last surgery, like worse than I would have expected. And it was freaking stevia. Like, it definitely gives a good wake up call that the things we consume can, and stevia is supposed to be healthy. No, it did not work out well for me. That doesn't mean other people, like my husband, can have it and doesn't have any ill effects from it. I just can't. Vladimir said, what do you think of getting brushes for beginners at Michael's? Absolutely. I actually have quite a few brushes. Some of them I have tonight. These are from Michael's. I'm going to spill that coffee by putting it in between my legs. That is a bad idea. So these two brushes, let's see. These are the Royal and Langnickel ones. Those are really cheap, and I actually really like them. These are both Taklon bristled brushes, or gold Taklon. The only problem with these, you have to watch this part is loose. Half of them at Michael's, this just would pull right off. So I just tested them in there. If it falls off, I'll just super glue it when I get home, or if I'm using it at home. But Michael's has some brushes that are actually decent. I get the cheap ones because if it doesn't work, I'm not out a whole lot of money. Let's see. Caitlin said the T7 is now $220. Bought mine years ago. Now I'm mad. I will definitely look into that. I'm glad to hear that. Like, that's why I wanted to talk to somebody who actually has used them, that I can talk with you, because when you read a lot of the reviews online, it's always frustrating because you're like, okay, is this person giving this review because it was given to them, or they're sponsored or whatever? It's so nice when you can actually talk to somebody. And so whenever I do reviews, I try to be very clear if it was sponsored, but I also make sure that I give very honest, nobody can buy a review from me as far as I'm going to give them a good review. If I don't like the product, I'm either not going to make the video or I'm going to tell you I don't like the product. Those are my two options if I don't like something. But at the same time, I see how many videos are made with different products, and I'm like, I know that's not your honest opinion. And so I always worry, with looking at the scooters, I was going to look on YouTube with stuff, but I also was kind of like, I don't know if I trust those. Let's see. Megan said, which Photoshop programs do you use? I've been looking at downloading one of the bundles, but I wasn't sure which one I needed. I use the one that has Photoshop and Lightroom. It's like $10 a month, I think, $9.99 a month. That's the one that I use right now. I'm considering getting the full bundle at some point it's like $50 a month and it gives you all the things, because it also has Adobe Audition in it, or Audition, and that you can use for recording music. So that's actually, I have a really old version of Audition. I'd love to have the new one, and I was considering getting it for that. And then I realized, or there's also After Effects Pro, or After Effects. I wanted to get that too. I've never played with that one, so I don't know how good it is. A friend recommended it. Oh, my video is going out. There we go. But the one that I'm using right now is just Photoshop and Lightroom, and I'm happy with it. It's a great, those are both great products, but it really depends on what you need. If you want more. For me, I think if I decide I want Audition and After Effects, it's going to make it worth it to me to do the $50 a month. Although part of me is like, $50 a month on programs, that's like, you just, that gets high. Like $10 a month isn't so scary. $50 a month. Am I really going to use that, or am I going to pay for it? And yeah, so let's see. JPC13 Art said, other than WoW, what video games do you play? Just WoW. That's the only one. I've played Aeon. I've played Warhammer, like way when it first came out, or whatever the more recent. I want to say more recent, but it was so long ago. There may have been even more recent than that. But I played, I think that was it. Oh, I played Final Fantasy. That bored me too much. It was too much of the storyline. I don't care about storylines. So I just want to go kill the things. So that wasn't fun for me. It looked amazing, but I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, just WoW. Mostly with WoW, what I do now, because I don't have time to raid or run dungeons much, I really just collect pets and mounts. I'm only a couple of mounts, 4 mounts short of having the 250 mount achievement on one character. Let's see. Jesse said that paint should get covered before it dries. Oh, good call. Thank you for that. Okay. So with this, you just put the lid on and it snaps down around the edges. But thank you so much for letting me know about that. I forgot. You are amazing. Okay. Vladimir said, when you mean the cheap one, do you mean the ones that come in packets, or just the one brushes that are like $2.99? I get usually the ones that come individually. Going back to brushes, I'm like, what are you talking about? These were all bought individually. I will occasionally get ones in the packs. The thing is, though, with the packs, I feel like there's almost always going to be like half of them that I didn't really want. So I'd rather just get individually the ones I know I'm going to use. But when you're starting out, then the packs I think are good, because it gives you the opportunity to try things, because you don't know, I don't know if you're not going to like all the brushes in the pack. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that it's bad to use or wrong, or that you won't. So, and Pal said, pain taking me out, night all again. Yeah, I'm about there with you. Feel better. Juan said, your husband plays video games, right? What does he play mostly? All of them. All of them. He plays all the games. Lots. I'm trying to think. I'm like, can I start listening? No, I don't know. If it's a game, he probably plays it. That's basically what he does. Like, he comes home from work and he goes and plays video games. That's what he does. He likes it. Whatever. And then it works out really well, though, because I spend most of my nights either working on editing, or I keep saying editing wrong, editing or painting or whatever I'm doing, and he just goes and plays video games. He's perfectly happy, and it works out really well, because it's not something where he's like, oh, I feel neglected. He wanted to go play video games anyway. So it's like the most perfect, well-balanced relationship. As weird as it seems to most people, it works out really well. I actually really like that I got the Amazon Echoes, because I can, from this room, like, drop in or whatever, talk to him when he's in the other room through the Echoes, which is really convenient for very lazy people like me. Let's see. Okay. I am done. Valerie is telling me to get, oh geez, it's 10:44. I didn't realize it was this late. Yeah, I definitely need to go. My dogs need to go outside too. Thank you, moderators, for putting up with me. I just figured we'd hang out and talk. Make sure to check out the moderators' channels. It's in the link below in the video description. Go thank them by subscribing to them. You know, like follow for follow that everyone's pushing right now. But no, they have good stuff when they post. Valerie posts more often. Joseph, not so much. It's been like 7 months. I know. I looked at your channel today and disappointed in you, sir. Put up some videos. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks again for joining me, and I don't know for sure what next week is, but bye. If I can ever turn this off. Always that awkward pause.